Another grieving father heckled the president. Stephen Nakui shouted about his son among the 13 U.S. troops killed in a suicide bombing during the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Capitol Police removed Nakui and arrested him. Former President Trump was reacting in real time to the Biden speech on Truth Social, calling it angry and polarizing, then saying in a video,
Biden has actively aided and abetted the importation of millions and millions of illegal alien migrants and resettle them into your communities.
America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
He said it wrong. Showers on radar, 50 degrees downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:02. As you just heard, President Biden delivered his State of the Union last night, during which he acknowledged the killing of a college student in Georgia at the hands of a man in the U.S. illegally.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals?
Biden mispronouncing Laken Riley's name there. Indiana Senator Mike Braun said on X that it's an outrage Biden got her name wrong. 2 people shot on the east side this morning. It was in a neighborhood near 10th Street and German Church Road. Commander Mike Leeper with IMPD.
We don't know at this point in time what the involvement of those individuals were, specifically with this neighborhood, if they lived over here or had some type of connection or were just stopped here.
He says they are looking for witnesses. A bill expanding natural disaster relief is heading to the governor's desk. Donnie Burgess reports on what the bill would do.
Republican State Senator Cindy Carrasco.
Getting dollars to local communities and individuals after a natural disaster in a more efficient way so that they can start to rebuild.
And it would increase how much relief money an individual could receive. Carrasco says last summer's tornado outbreak is a perfect example of why Hoosiers need fast, efficient relief services. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
State senators also passing a bill Thursday allowing certain state office holders to carry handguns in the State House, much to the disapproval of Democrats.
Have at least an understanding of who was not a prohibited person.
State Senator Greg Taylor had hoped a provision would stay in the bill requiring a carry license to have a gun in the State House. That was removed. Indiana State begins their quest for a spot in the NCAA tournament today. They face Missouri State in the quarterfinals of Arch Madness.
Special seasons are based on how you perform in the postseason. The part that everybody remembers about any story is how it ends.
Head coach Josh Schertz. Tip-off today at 1 o'clock. Traffic on the 5s, Matt Bear.
All right, Kurt, looking at the south side eastbound at 465 of the White River. That's a crash blocking 2 right lanes, causing stop traffic back to Kentucky Avenue for a 45-minute delay. Southbound 69 crash after Cynthian Road. And this is going to be, well, all lanes just reopened. Traffic is backed up for about 30 minutes for a couple of miles. Looking at the south side, westbound 465 still stop and go from 31 over to the White River. Those crashes have cleared. Traffic sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today. I'm Matt Bear. Traffic on the 5s. Follow us at WIBC Traffic.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Showers this morning, a few thunderstorms possible this afternoon. Mild and breezy, a high of 60. Steady rain overnight, could be heavy at times. A few thunderstorms too, a low of 43. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
50 degrees with some light rain on radar. I'm Kurt Darling. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Friday, March 8th. It is 6 minutes after 9. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Well, I don't know what you did to get into so much trouble, but Grandpa yelled at you for an hour and a half last night. Of course, he was trying to diffuse his biggest liability, which is the fear by many people that think that he is just too old to serve a second term.
He was totally on drugs, right? There's
no
doubt.
He was hyped up on something.
There's no doubt. He has not had that much energy since the Hoover administration.
Well, and did you notice throughout the speech, they seem to wear off just a little bit. Kind of like our 11 o'clock hour broadcast here. It was like he came out full of energy, and as it went on, it just started to lose energy.
Well, he was also super late, and not late like in the sense of the State of the Union always starts late because they're shaking hands or whatever. He was late getting to the thing. So what was going on?
Well, I think it was those protesters that were blocking the road.
No, he was like getting out of the White House.
Possibly.
He was like late getting out of the White House, and then he charges out of there. Like,
and he said, "Don't jump" on his way to the limo.
There is no way that was all natural, because it was like there's no with the porridge, too hot, too cold, just right. There's never any just right with him. He's either on death's door or like the Roadrunner in a Wile E. Coyote Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah, it's either open mouth staring off into space drooling, or you get what you got last night.
Okay, so Hammer, Nigel, and I were having our little text thread last night, and we got into a kind of a debate, and we get into this when Hammer comes in, of whether if I were to aggressively pound 2 pitcher Long Islands from Kilroy's in an hour, if I could deliver that same speech better than Biden did last night.
No doubt, without a teleprompter or cards.
Because Casey has experienced how much I can drink in a very short amount of time and yet still be able to, with a reasonable level of sobriety, perform in front of a large audience.
Yep, just drink some water really quick.
That was the shouting, it was all that is, and of course the media immediately afterwards, because he formed reasonably coherent sentences until he got to Lincoln Riley, and I know we're going to get to that. That was the takeaway, but because the bar is so low for him, because he didn't fall over and die in the middle of the speech, they were like, oh my gosh, he was so magnanimous and charming and charismatic. It's like, what speech are you watching? He yelled at the entire country for an hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah, he did. And to him, that was vigor and energy. Yeah. And he kept using words like unity while he was shouting. Yeah. It was a very divisive speech. And he was more interested in talking about his predecessor than anything.
Yeah, he's got scorned lover syndrome big time.
Yeah, he does.
And it's always, that's what you do. That's what people do when they enter into a relationship where they know the predecessor, as Biden kept calling him, was either, bigger income, better head of hair, nicer automobile. If you know the person before you was probably a better choice for the person that you're with now, you keep trying to undermine the person that was there before you because it's an inferiority complex.
It's sour grapes.
It makes you feel better about your own shortcomings, and that's what what would he have actually talked about? So think about out of the gate, what's he do? It's Ukraine, which is clearly his top priority, funding another country. It's UAW guy gets a big round of applause. And then they immediately maneuver into the lust of sucking brains out of defenseless fetuses. That is the priority of the Democrat Party. Everyone's in a union, $60 billion for Ukraine, and let's destroy as many defenseless fetuses as we possibly can.
He talked about Snickers candy bars before he talked about the border.
Yes. and then we got into the border. And by the way, I've never seen this before. And look, I've long said I wish our government was handled more like a British Parliament. That would be far more entertaining. But I've never seen a president of the United States engage in dinner theater with the House of Representatives and the Senate like he did. It was like going to beef and boards, where he's trying to get into it with these people that are in the audience.
Well, and it's
how unprofessional.
And it's when he went off script that he got in trouble again.
And yes, he cannot help himself. And really, it is an insight into Biden's lost his mind. I mean, everybody knows Joe Biden is mentally shot, but it is an insight into these people. And I say these people as a collective because it's not just Biden. It's the overwhelming majority of these people in both parties that were in that chamber last night. George Santos is going to go to federal prison, and he waltzed his ass in there and sat with zero shame whatsoever.
He's talking about running again for
Bernie
something.
Sanders was wearing a mask.
Sometimes. That thing kept going off and on.
Yes, but then
he walked in without it. At one point, he put it back on.
Yes.
Then he took it off. Then he put it back on.
And but the overwhelming theme of these people in the U.S. Congress is the elitism and the entitleism by which they live their life. And for Joe Biden last night, you are the CEO of America. You are the commander in chief. Can you imagine if I don't even know who it is now. Is it Cook that's still running Apple? Can you imagine the guy that's running Walmart? He's giving some presentation to the board of directors, and they have some disagreements with him about, different policies. And he starts acting like the way Joe Biden acted last night. It was so unbecoming of the president of the United States to engage in this smart-ass, or attempt to engage in this smart-ass back and forth with the Republicans, and it finally bit him in the ass big time because the takeaway from last night's speech was he couldn't help himself, and he cared so little about that poor little girl who was assassinated by an illegal immigrant that he screwed himself over, and he deserved every second of it.
Yep. Okay, so he picked up a button during the State of the Union address, and he did say her name, but in true Joe Biden fashion, he said it wrong.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals?
Yeah.
To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing.
Stop. Yeah, okay, stop. I know you want to go, but you know how I get. I got to just get this out, and then I think I'll be better, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, it's 6 to 8 years because you allow it to be. You have told them, as soon as you were elected, you had that press conference where you were literally telling people what to say on the phone in order to be able to stay in the country. That's the first part of that. The end part of that was gross, as though he's disconnected from this. The second part of it is Laken Riley, L-A-K-E-N, Laken Riley. There ain't no N and there ain't no I in Laken Riley is arguably the most famous American in the country right now. She has been the lead story on nightly news organizations across every platform imaginable. She is the lead focus of many talk radio discussions. She is the biggest story and what happened to her in this country right now. And yet, he could not even say her name correctly. Even when it was plastered right in front of him, he could not even give her or her family the decency of saying her name correctly. And then, because he is 9,000 years old and is running out of firing synapses in his brain, he admitted the issue, which is, yes, thousands of people have been killed, by illegal immigrants.
Right, and that's what happens when he goes off script. I mean, I felt so bad for her parents, and a good choice on them for not going. And at one point, he looked up in the audience like he was looking for them, like he was going to talk to them. And you're right, her name was on the button that he picked up and held in front of him, and he still mispronounced her name. At that point, it would have been better for him not to say it at all because it was so disrespectful. And another thing he said the word illegal. But I thought the Biden administration said these are non-citizens or these are newcomers.
The best part, best in air quotes, but the best part of that, and my wife saw this and we rewound it and we laughed hysterically for probably 10 minutes. I was 10 minutes behind the speech by the time it got done, was Kamala's face when he went off script and grabbed that button.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch her, if you go back and watch, you want to talk about someone whose butt cheeks were puckered together. When he grabbed that button and she
knew.
I mean, it was, if you were to say she was holding in the world's largest poop, her face would not have been any tightly scrunched together because she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And that became, by the way, poor actual Lincoln Riley, who is the coach of USC.
He's trending. He's like, what'd I do?
You know, that guy was like, so Lincoln Riley was the coach of Oklahoma. He's now the coach of USC. And you know that guy was probably in Southern California with his feet, propped up, enjoying a cold beverage. And all of a sudden, he just starts trending on Twitter. And he's probably like, did we get a great recruit? Caleb Williams is my quarterback. Have the Bears announced he's going to be the number? Why am I trending on Twitter? And then you realize it's because Joe Biden said you were the guy killed by an illegal immigrant.
It's just, I mean, when people like Jim Banks and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're saying, say her name, say her name.
He tried. He tried.
Is that what we're saying? He tried.
I mean, he gave it the Joe Biden
because it was unscripted. Had it been practiced, maybe he could have gotten it.
He couldn't help him. But this is an example, though. When you challenge these people, they do not want to be challenged because they believe they're smarter than you. They believe they're better than you. And who are you, peasant, to call them to account for anything that they've done?
It was important for him to say her name. It was important for him to get it correct, and he failed.
Yeah.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
The Trump train steamed through Super Tuesday.
Let's get going, okay?
The final destination.
Where we're going?
Milwaukee this summer.
Republican National Convention.
Then, the mother of all rematches in November.
Number one on the poll.
This is the most important election.
The choice facing America.
Keep yapping, man.
Let me shut you down for a second.
It's hard to get any word in with this clown.
Did you use the word smart?
Don't miss a stop along the way on your 2024 election information station, 93 WIBC.
The most common form of treatment for the arthritic joints is normally cortisone injections and gel shots and over-the-counter medications. And most patients have tried all of that and are still in pain.
Every day, Dr. Aaron Wolkoff, a QC Kinetics medical director, meets patients who have exhausted every method to get relief. They've been told surgery is their only option.
They want to stay away from that path, and they come to us almost as a last hope. So we're using our own body's properties to help manage pain, to help slow arthritis down, keep the patients active with no downtime, and getting back to what they enjoy doing. I mean, I love what I do.
QC Kinetics regenerative treatments from our board-certified providers help heal and restore aching joints. No surgery, harmful drugs, or downtime. Call for your free consultation today.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. In Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel, 317-559-PAIN.
Everyone wants energy that's reliable and affordable. I've been a Duke Energy line worker here in Indiana for almost 20 years. So I'm proud to help deliver that for the people and the communities that matter most to me. With stronger, more resilient systems, better able to stand up to severe weather, and support for local businesses and jobs. It feels good knowing I'm helping build a smarter energy future for all of us.
Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
When life happens, Michelis happens to help you through it. That includes water, storms, fire, and the whole insurance mess. Working hand in hand with the claims adjuster, Michaelis is your advocate, your voice, your local trusted advisor for cleaning up, building back, and moving forward when disaster strikes. Now that is an insurance policy. Make it Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare information guide absolutely free. Call 800-919-3200. That's 800-919-3200. 800-919-3200.
Hey, Wings Etc. fans, guess what? March 13th is Wing Scooter Madness Day. We're rolling back prices on award-winning wings and big ice cold schooners to just 59 cents for wings and $5.25 for domestic schooners. Dine in only. Mark your calendars for this Wednesday, March 13th, and get great deals on wings and domestic schooners when you dine in on Wing Scooter Madness Day. This March 13th, one day only, and only at your local Wings Etc. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub with 15 Central Indiana locations. Find us online at wingsetc.com.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, you may be in big trouble.
Yeah?
Free alignment and a free oil change?
On any 4-tire purchase.
And Michelin's up to $175 off?
Right.
Sorry, Mike, but I'm telling.
But the Wood family is behind all this.
Oh, those rascals.
But don't tell the accountants.
Of course not. What do they do again?
Buy any set of 4 tires at Tire Discounters and get a free alignment and oil change. Make them Michelin's and save up to $175 more. See store for details.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. For hunting, sporting, and personal protection gear, visit the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
A bold vision for the future. That's what Chuck Schumer said about Joe Biden's State of the Union address last night. It is 23 minutes after 9. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So let's talk about a bold vision. Please tell me what he's saying here.
Because I invested in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture who knows more about this than anybody I know.
Wait, what?
We're better able to stay in the family for those farms and their children and grandchildren won't have to leave home to make a living. It's transformative.
Can we do that again?
The beginning is very important.
Yeah.
That's the part I can't quite
I mean,
figure
he's
out.
just one step away from being Boom Hour from
That's what I was saying.
King of the Hill. Go ahead.
Because I invested in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture who knows more about this than anybody I know. We're better able to stay in the family for those farms and their children and grandchildren won't have to leave home to make a living. It's transformative.
It's transformative.
He does the Biden thing where there's words that are just complete gibberish. He's going way too fast, so he's slamming. See, with Biden, there's various forms of gibberish. There are words that are actually not even words. Then that's one form of gibberish. Then there's gibberish where he slams multiple words together because he's talking too fast. Also, being on drugs yesterday really didn't help him.
What do you think it was, Adderall?
I have no idea. But how do you go from falling asleep at the podium to, Mario Andretti in a moment's notice, instant? I mean, we have not seen that guy, ever. Even together, Joe Biden was not that.
He was so caught up in showing that he was, had vigor and the energy that he wasn't measured, and the message got lost.
Yeah, I think they were so worried, whatever they put him on. I mean, no reasonable person thinks that was Joe Biden. I mean, you don't see Joe Biden at night. You almost never see Joe Biden.
It was well past his bedtime.
Right, you almost never see, and they've been pretty candid about that. Like, he just doesn't go out or do anything in the evening. You almost never see Joe Biden in the evening, and yet that last night, there's no way There's no way any reasonable person thinks that was a normal, 364 other days of the year Joe Biden. He was clearly hyped up on something.
The shocking part is that he raised about $1.5 million between the hours of 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. last night.
That's it?
Grassroots.
That's not all that much, right? It's a country of 330 million people. That means, what is that? I'm going to do some math here. Remember when they told you in school, you're not always going to have a calculator at your disposal, Casey?
Yes, you do.
Let's see here. What would that be? 1.65 divided by 330. That comes out to like 5 cents a person or something like that. It's some egregiously no number. Hey, good job with your speech, buddy. You got 5 cents a person.
So Donald Trump, he released a rebuttal to the State of the Union, and he did it before the State of the Union even began. It's number 5, Kevin, if you can find that one. But did you see how Truth Social was down? Was down.
It was down.
As Donald Trump said he was going to be live truthing.
Yeah, it went down.
It went down, and then he had to play a little catch up.
Are you surprised?
That
it's
it went
probably
down?
a giant coincidence, Casey.
Isn't that odd?
It's amazing how it is as big a coincidence as the vote getting stopped at midnight, and then magically all the states swinging in favor of one candidate.
All right, well, here's what Donald Trump had to say before the State of the Union address.
Joe Biden is on the run from his record and lying like crazy to try and escape accountability for the horrific devastation he and his party have created. All the while, they continue the very policies that are causing this horror show to go. We cannot take it any longer as a country. Joe Biden's sad excuse for a State of the Union address aside, here are the facts. When I left office, we gave Joe Biden the most secure border in U.S. history. We gave him remain in Mexico, very tough to get, but I got it. Safe third agreements, the asylum ban, Title 42, 571 miles of border wall, rapid deportations, and much more. We had the safest border in the history of our country. As soon as he got in, Crooked Joe and his radical left lunatics deliberately dismantled each and every one of those policies that were so good, that gave us this best border. According to Tom Homan, according to Brandon Judd, the top people, they said it was the single best border we've ever had in recorded history.
So Trump could have done his own rebuttal, but instead they had Katie Britt do it, and we have to talk about that coming up.
Now, I will be candid with you. I was so exhausted at the end of being screamed at for an hour.
Well, you were
9 minutes.
yelled at. You were in trouble.
And I told you, I thought she was the wrong person to give the State of the Union response.
You were right.
Oh, my goodness, boy. You know that's my least favorite part of the show, Casey. That's my least favorite part of the show.
No. All right, well, we'll talk about that coming up from 93 WIBC.
The invasion on our southern border is threatening every community. But Senator Mike Braun is standing up for Hoosiers and fighting Biden's border crisis. Mike Braun is a leading voice for policies that will put an end to our broken southern border. That's why Mike Braun endorsed reforms in Indiana to end sanctuary cities. Currently, local elected officials are abusing their positions and harboring illegals by declaring sanctuary city status. These leaders refusing to cooperate with ICE and border officials must be stopped. Mike Braun's endorsement of Indiana Senate Bill 181 is a step towards eliminating this lawlessness by requiring local authorities to take action against illegals in Indiana communities. Mike Braun knows we must act now to end the border crisis. Contact your Indiana state legislator at 1-800-382-9841 and thank them for supporting Senate Bill 181. Paid for by HoosierHope.org.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A speech with some drama. It's some rain on radar, otherwise cloudy and 50 degrees downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. President Biden gave his State of the Union last night.
The president made no mention about executive actions to fix the southern border. Instead, he called on Congress to act.
My Republican friends owe it to the American people, get this bill done.
The speech was not without interruptions. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene demanding the president say the name of the young woman killed at the University of Georgia Lake and Riley Riley, the father of a U.S. Marine killed at the Abbey Gate in the suicide bombing during the hasty withdrawal from Afghanistan, had to be escorted out.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Detroit Mercy is moving on from its head basketball coach. The school announced on Thursday that it had mutually parted ways with Mike Davis, who is the former coach at Indiana. The Titans won just one single game this season and finished 1-31 on the year. That lone win was over IUPUI. Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. A mixed bag at the opening bell. The Dow was off 30 points at the opening bell to 39,224. The NASDAQ is up 12 to 18,578. And the S&P 500 is up 6.5 to 5,231. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
So the time is now to maximize your home sale price with the agent and the team that I recommend. That would be one Mr. Mark Dietel. Here's what Dan and Jen in Avon had to say. We were ready to downsize and move to a smaller dream home. There were many challenges to navigate, but luckily we had the Mark Dietel team on our side. They got our difficult-to-sell house sold at the price we needed. They are truly the best.
Mark Dietel is the only real estate expert we trust and recommend here on the Hammer and Nigel show. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, no required repairs. Contact Mark Dietel today, 317-755-4232, or go to markdietel.com. Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietel.com. Tell him Hammer and Nigel sent you.
24/7 ER care for kids. 24/7 peace of mind for you. Riley Children's Health emergency doctors and nurses are in the ER around the clock at IU Health North in Carmel. Learn more at rileychildrens.org/ER.
Congresswoman Spartz will be ready for your interview soon.
It seems pretty intense in there.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Maybe I'll take some time before the interview to Google Victoria Spartz and learn a little more about her. Whoa. Have you seen this article?
One aide calling the lawmakers' workplace behavior manic?
Victoria Spartz was #1 on Legistorm's list of worst bosses based on high turnover rates.
Says she, quote, avoided firing aides and instead bullied them until they left.
And the story is based on interviews with half a dozen former staffers.
Yikes. Spartz called staff morons and idiots.
Get this. Victoria Spartz says her working style is, quote, not for everyone.
Well, it's not for me. I think I'll pass on this interview.
I'm Chuck Goodrich. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Go with Chuck Goodrich Committee.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, over 3 million people called Morgan & Morgan in their time of need. And with over 1 million of those calls coming from previous clients, friends, and family.
My name is Jason Williams. It was a rainy day, and I'd gotten hit from behind by a lady that was doing somewhere over 100 miles an hour is what they were saying. I've never dealt with anything like this before. Everybody that I talked to kept saying the same name, which was Morgan & Morgan. I was on hold for maybe 15 seconds. When they come back and said, Jason, we will absolutely take your case. As a non-tech savvy guy, any question that I had, if I called, text, or emailed, they got right back to me. They made it as easy for me as it could have been.
Thank you for trusting us. We've become the largest injury firm in the world because we've won a lot. The word is out. Size matters. Reputation matters. We're America's largest injury law firm for a reason. With over 900 dedicated attorneys and climbing, we're ready wherever you are, whatever you need. The choice is easy. We're just a phone call away. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
You were yelled at and you were gaslit last night by the President of the United States.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you were going with that.
Good morning.
All things that have definitely happened to me in my life. I didn't know exactly where you were going with that, though.
It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC. So last night, Joe Biden suggested that the State of the Union is strong.
Yeah. Don't you agree? Don't you feel good about the condition of our country?
I would say that there are a few categories that it is not strong.
Wouldn't you describe us as like just a out-of-control locomotive at this point? I mean, we are mauling down everything that gets in our path, Casey. America, yeah, baby, we're back. Oh, wait, no, that's not how that's going.
I mean, when you think about it on the world stage, when you think about economically, even, our sovereignty at this point, it's all in question. But Joe Biden stood there, and it took him 30 minutes to get to it, but he did tell you that the State of the Union is strong.
Well, okay, and I know you want to play clips from this boring woman who I told you was going to be completely boring, and she was boring, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's it's just us. It's just you and me. Kev's here too. Kev, you can watch. Casey and I are going to role play here. How about that? All right. Are you excited? Kev's in the corner watching. Let's pretend we were crafting the State of the Union for Biden. Okay. Wouldn't you come rip roaring out of the gate? Because it's just like any other event. You've got about 15 minutes, or any large scale event. You got 15 minutes. And then people start to,
lose interest,
file out and lose interest, especially when it's Biden giving the speech. Wouldn't you check the boxes of, okay, these are the overwhelming large-scale issues to the most amount of Americans? We're in an election year, so we have to give a speech. This is really a campaign speech that we're doing on taxpayer time and with taxpayer resources. So wouldn't you come rip-roaring out of the gate in that first 15 minutes and say, okay, universally, there's probably two issues, and polling supports this, that most Americans are concerned about, and that is the price of stuff and the immigration. And so wouldn't you, whichever one you want to lead with, come out acknowledging one, because people love contrition. People love a redemption story. And so wouldn't you come out of the gate acknowledging the issue, acknowledging your role in the issue on both, and then proposing solutions that would fix the issue, and then put the onus on the other party to say, what saith you?
Yeah.
But instead, it was like we said, it was
Ukraine and abortion.
Yeah, and then the union guy was in there for a standing ovation too, in the middle of all that.
And he was talking about shrinkflation and cookies and candy bars before he ever got to the border.
Yeah. So if I were, and again, obviously they would never hire me to write this speech, and it would involve having someone who could nail the message you're trying to articulate. If I were to have written that speech for him last night, and I'm being cognizant of in the confines of he's a Democrat president, but I would have come out of the gate saying, we have some things as a country we have to acknowledge are mortally flawed if we are going to continue to remain the greatest idea ever conceived by man. And my challenge tonight to everyone in this chamber is to put your partisan politics aside, and let's figure out how we can work together on these two issues. And the number one thing you would say to people is the price of everything is too expensive.
Got to come down.
Everyone in this room is to blame for that. And he didn't do that. And you could say the same thing about immigration. The same thing. Everyone in this room, there is a crisis point at the border. Everyone in this room, Republicans and Democrats alike, for a variety of special interest related reasons, has not pulled their weight in terms of serving the American people. And here are the things that we can do in a bipartisan fashion immediately to solve these issues. That would have gone over so well with the American people. So well with the American people.
But he couldn't do that because it was a completely partisan speech. It was a campaign speech. He was more interested in attacking Donald Trump. It's like without naming Donald Trump. And they think it's working. I mean, listen to this. This is Pete Buttigieg, and he is putting all of this completely on you. Listen to this, how he's pretty much saying that you're crazy for not realizing how great the economy is.
Look, there's a lot of reasons why Americans have had a lot of frustration in recent years. We are still, in many ways, psychologically recovering from a pandemic that killed 1 million Americans. We're dealing with challenges at home and abroad.
Yes. So what he's pretty much saying is, it's me. I'm the problem.
Right.
I'm the one having the issue.
We are, so if you look at the Republicans in that room last night, and as I was watching this, my wife and I were talking about this, They can boo all they want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Mike Johnson can make his little faces behind Biden, and that's cute and clever.
He's a big meme today, isn't he?
But Mike Johnson and the Republicans have essentially the entire time they've been in office fully funded everything this guy's wanted. What does Biden not have today that he had January of last year? What in this country is markedly different than it was January of last year? The answer is zero. The train keeps rolling on despite the Republicans having at least, we've counted them up, at least 5 opportunities to enact whatever reforms they desired because they have the power of the budget. And so it is hypocritical and disingenuous for Mike Johnson to make those faces because he's just cut another spending deal. He's just cut another spending deal to fully fund the overwhelming majority of Biden's priorities. And most of the people in that room, save for, you know, our usual suspects, Rand Paul, you know, Thomas Massie, et cetera, even though Massie's voted for a bunch of this stuff too. It is hypocrisy on all of these people because they are all sharing in the blame of what's going on in this country.
Well, the one thing that Biden did have last night, which I'm sure you noticed, was a big, wet, gross cough.
But Israel has Israel has a added burden.
Yes,
many times.
That was Nigel's favorite in our text thread. Is every time he would do that, we would get a giant all caps wet cough text from Nigel. And yes.
And
there
then
were several of them.
I'm sure you noticed after the speech how when he was leaving, he was shaking everybody's hand.
Oh my gosh!
Don't do it. He just spent the past hour and a half coughing into that hand. And then he's going to shake it.
Are we gonna talk about the boring lady who gave the response to the State of the Union?
Yeah, we need to take a break. And then
I tried to tell everyone. I tried. You cannot go by looks alone, Casey, on something this important. As someone who has been burned many times in my life by going on looks alone, I wish they would have listened to me because this was too important to go by looks alone.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Katie Britt coming up. It's 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, a breakdown of the State of the Union, which kind of looked like a breakdown in and of itself. And I'll start breaking down my trip to Israel. That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Good day, listener friends. It is Rob for my friends at the Bath Authority. And the Bath Authority, man, they do it all. Walk-in tubs, replacement showers, tub-to-shower conversions, and more. You know, spring is just about sprung, and now might be a great time for you to do that bathroom project you've been putting off for so many years. The Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with a world-class customer experience. And listen to this deal they've got going on right now. Call today, 317-532-5711. 317-532-5711. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and you get $1,000 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. $1,000 off a new shower or bath, 36 months of interest-free financing. 317-532-5711 or thebathauthority.com. Thebathauthority.com. Tell them Rob sent you.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Dads happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill Dent Removal.
Cancer's worst gets our best. Franciscan Health is a national leader in treating colorectal cancer, achieving the highest standards in cancer care. With accredited programs, board-certified oncologists, and fellowship-trained colorectal surgeons, Franciscan Health is focused on your future, offering the most advanced treatments and latest clinical trials that are no match for colorectal cancer. Meet colorectal cancer's toughest opponent at franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care. That's franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
I don't know if you can say it or not, Rob.
I'm gonna use a word that rhymes with it because I'm not willing to risk my radio career on Kevin rubbing his chin, making a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about it.
Well, okay, so
analyzed it.
Here's the conversation we were having during the break, which was I told everyone for the last several days that Katie Britt was not a good person to pick for this response to the State of the Union because, first of all, very few people are going to be watching anyway. I mean, you could put, unless you put somebody like, what's her name, Sydney Sweeney or something, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Unless you put her up there or Paige Spiranac or somebody like that, most people just, they've had enough after an hour and 9 minutes of old man yelling and rambling. They're not going to do any more politics. So my theory was, if you're going to try to attract people to your response, you have to give them somebody that is worth them seeing. And no
you didn't
offense,
think she was it.
well, some reasonably well-assembled woman in a pantsuit in her 40s is probably not going to be it. And people are going to be offended I said that, but you are going to back me up on the reality of what took place. They should have listened to me, right? It was boring, and she didn't get them anything.
I don't want to say that it was boring. I feel it was overly dramatic is what it was.
Because she's boring.
She went through a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
It sounded like overacting at some point.
Yes.
She sounded like she was about to cry. She also sounded happy. She sounded upset. It was the full spectrum.
Exactly.
And we did it in her kitchen.
And everybody saw through it because she's boring. There are like 3 United States senators who you would even label mildly entertaining. Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley sometimes. That's about it. She is not that. And they went based on, and this has gotten many, many men in many, many a quandary over the years, they went on age and looks, and it blew up in their face just like it has for countless men over the many generations, which is why I said, and this is the prevailing theory for many, many years, you know the old saying, bros before slows. I think the word is different than slows, but I'm not willing to risk my radio career on Kevin laughing as he rubs his chin on if I can say that or not. So bros before slows is the saying, and it played out. Who would you have rather hung out with last night? Katie Britt and her over-dramatic bullcrap acting, or Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson?
Well, Tucker Carlson probably would have been more entertaining for sure.
More people would be talking about the response if it had been Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson.
Okay, so she was arguing that Biden avoided a lot of the issues, and she said that he had a lot of rage and anger, and she also said enough is enough.
Mr. President, enough is enough. Innocent Americans are dying, and you only have yourself to blame. Fulfill your oath of office, reverse your policies, end this crisis, and stop the suffering.
She is just shy of I'm not going to be ignored, Dan. I mean, Glenn Close is going to sue her for what would that be, plagiarism or I mean, come on.
Okay, but here's what we have to consider is how does this play out to suburban moms and women who are watching? And I've got an example here. I've got a friend who's back in the South Bend area.
Yeah.
Total MAGA. She has been for years. Yeah. And during the speech, she posted, that speech did not bring our country together. It just promoted more divisiveness. It was a campaign speech, not a State of the Union speech, in my humble opinion. And then when Katie Britt came on, she posted again, Katie Britt hit a home run with the American flag emoji. So that's who Katie Britt was talking to. And that's what you have to consider. Are the suburban moms buying into what she was saying?
You're going to hurt yourself with this stretching, Casey. I really am worried. I mean, you've got just all extremities extended at this point. You shouldn't be talking to the people who are already voting for you. That's not the response to the State of the Union. If the MAGA people aren't already voting for Trump, well, then he's going to lose 49 states. Your job as the response to the State of the Union is to point out to the middle-of-the-road people who swing either way, who have to make a choice on whether they're going to vote for a guy whose policies they loathe and is destroying their existence, or someone they personally loathe, why they have to suck it up and vote for the guy they personally loathe. You're not talking to somebody like your friend here who has already made up her mind.
But don't you think that she was trying to balance the anger and the rage and the Biden yelling at you with the compassionate side?
But she came off of reminding people in the middle of the road, men especially, she sounded like a third ex-wife. I mean, it's who wants to be reminded of that? That drama. I mean, she was like a theater.
No, I do agree. It was overly dramatic.
That's my point.
Yeah.
You have to come out there and make that. You have to go one of two ways. And they didn't go either of these ways, and that's why it's been universally panned. You either have to have somebody who can just deliver a very precise message about, look, here's what you heard tonight. Here's why it's harming you. Here's why this is going to be bad for your family. Thank you. Have a nice life. And it is do no harm, do no anything. And maybe who's staying around for this, though, Casey? Who, after an hour and 9 minutes of being yelled at by their elderly great-grandfather who doesn't know where he's at, who's like, give me some more of that from someone who reminds me of my third ex-wife. Nobody's hanging around for that anyway, which is why they should have gone with somebody entertaining who we could talk and chuckle and have a good time about today. Instead, we're roasting this person because it was ridiculous. Ridiculous. And this is another example of women thinking they can get away with whatever they want just because they're good looking. Okay. It's another example, Casey.
So you said somebody better, somebody more entertaining.
Yeah.
You would stick around for. You mentioned Tucker Carlson. Of course, he had a few things to say after the State of the Union address, and here it is.
But Joe Biden is also a cruel and vicious demagogue, a man who has no problem at all denouncing his fellow Americans or putting his political opponents in prison as he has done. And that was all on display tonight. That was possibly the darkest, most un-American speech ever given by an American president. In fact, it wasn't a speech. It was a rant, entirely lacking in decency or generosity to his fellow Americans.
Infinitely better. That is infinitely better. The tone, the tenor, what he's saying is so much more direct. Again, Casey, bros before slows, and it was proven correct last night. They should have I was right. They should have gone with Tucker Carlson.
Well, here she is again. Katie Britt giving the Republican response.
Like so many families across America, my husband Wesley and I just watched President Biden's State of the Union address from our living room. And what we saw was the performance of a permanent politician who has actually been in office for longer than I've been alive. One thing was quite clear, though. President Biden just doesn't get it. He's out of touch.
That was overly practiced, and it did not come across as real or genuine.
And I pray I never have to find out, but I don't know what it is like when you enter the gates of hell if you live a certain quality of life, but I'm going to guess it appears as having to sit at a Taylor Swift concert next to that woman. I'm guessing that is when you find out where you are going to be sent based on the life you live. It's you have to, for eternity, sit at a Taylor Swift concert next to Katie Britt. Yikes!
They should have had Sydney Sweeney do it.
Yeah, why? Again, the whole thing's a joke. The State of the Union was a joke. You have the president openly fighting with people now and mocking them and trying to be cute and clever. If that's what it is, then just make it that. Put somebody out there that people will want to talk about.
It's Kendall and Casey. You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Jump around. Jump up and get down.
Do you get sinus infections, congestion, sinus pressure and pain, above your eyes, below your eyes, sinus headaches? You've gone to the doctor, you've visited urgent care over and over again, and it's always the same thing. Oh, I know. Let's try antibiotics and nasal sprays. But the sinus infections keep coming back. The good news? Relief is possible. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of Indianapolis Sinus Center called balloon sinuplasty. Imagine the relief of not having to deal with your sinus infections anymore. Set an appointment today with Indianapolis Sinus Center and find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Call 317-528-9650. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650.
Come on, Indy. Don't use the spring to paint your house year after year. Do what Deanna did. She called Rhino Shield.
I was noticing some cracks and the paint's faded. I was like, okay, I think I should get my house painted. So my neighbor had a Rhino Shield placard in the yard. And after they were finished, I was just, wow. With the warranty and everything, it just seemed silly not to go that route.
The ceramic coating of Rhino Shield is specifically formulated for our climate.
So the Rhino Shield crew came out. Nothing was damaged in the process. I was very happy. They just didn't leave a mess. You couldn't even tell they were there. And the house looked so different. It just looked like a new home.
Backed by a 25-year transferable warranty. And now get the protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
Rhino Shield, I think it increases the value and the curb appeal of your home. Definitely worth it.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Indiana Pathways for Aging helps Hoosier Medicaid members age 60 and over get support at no additional cost to live life their way.
Mom's Parkinson's is progressing, and Pathways provides in-home support so she can be with family every day.
Pathways coordinates Medicaid and Medicare services. I'm getting help with meals, personal care, and transportation.
One day, I might choose a nursing home, but today, I have options with Pathways.
Eligible members can select a plan now. Call 87-PATHWAY-4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
What's with all the smoke in here? Must be all the fire discounts at Pike Smokes Megastore. Shop at Pike Smokes Megastore on Frisky Fridays and get 20% off all water pipes. That's not all. Disposables are buy one, get one half off every day. Military and first responders get 15% off. Seniors and early birds, 10%. Pike Smokes Megastore off Benford and 62nd at 5028 East 62nd Street. And online at PikeSmokesMegastore.com.
Community Health Network cares for your heart health. From heart scans and vascular screenings to complex heart procedures, you can count on our expert team for the highest quality cardiovascular care, when and where you need it. Your path to a healthy heart starts with knowing your risk. Schedule a heart scan or vascular screening today. Visit ecommunity.com/heart. Community Health Network. Exceptional care. Simply delivered.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Coming up in 2 minutes, the timeline for rain and then maybe some warmer weather for Indiana later next week. Plus, a controversial bill in the State House that is still being held up on this, what might be the last day of the legislative session. And it's a big game day for the Indiana State Sycamores as they try to make the NCAA tournament. I'm Kurt Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios after Fox News Radio at the top of the hour. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
A tale of 2 months. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. In this morning's jobs report, 275,000 created in February.
We were only looking for 200,000. That is much hotter than expected. We saw this again. We saw this in January. We saw this in December. We're seeing it again. The unemployment rate went up to 3.9%.
That's Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni. January's numbers were revised a lot lower, 129,000 fewer jobs than in the initial report, but on Wall Street, stocks are surging. President Biden told us last night, despite his low financial approval ratings, the economy is the envy of the world. And in the State of the Union address, he said wealthier Americans need to pay more.
Does anybody really think the tax code is fair? No! Do you really think the wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion tax break? No! I sure don't.
Well, he also vowed to restore women's abortion rights. And in a campaign-like speech, he referenced his likely rematch rival 13 times, but never by name.
My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th.
As for what former President Trump has said about a surge of illegal border crossings,
I will not demonize immigrants saying they are poison in the blood of our country.
Now, former President Trump just posted on Truth Social that the Biden speech was angry as hell and the guy's a psycho. At times, House Speaker Mike Johnson, seated behind the president, was seen shaking his head on the border and other issues. He just told Fox.
It was difficult to sit through. It was a hyper-partisan speech that was just full of information that everyone in the room knew that was not true.
Also last night, President Biden says he's ordered the military to install a temporary pier off the Gaza coast to get more aid into Palestinian civilians as Israel keeps battling Hamas.
Children now reportedly dying of hunger. As many as 20 people have died so far. Now, that is according to the Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas, but still we are learning of desperate conditions, with UNICEF also warning of deteriorating situations.
Alex Hogan, America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It'll be wet on and off. Showers on radar. It is 51 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:02. You can expect rain throughout pretty much most of the day for most of the state.
You're going to have some light rain throughout the day into tonight as well. There might be some isolated thunderstorms with this, but we're not expecting anything widespread.
Aaron Updike with the National Weather Service. We return to the low to mid-60s by next week, he says. 2 people shot on the east side this morning. It was in a neighborhood near 10th and German Church Road. Commander Mike Leeper with IMPD.
We don't know at this point in time what the involvement of those individuals were, specifically with this neighborhood, if they lived over here or had some type of connection or were just stopped here.
He says they're looking for witnesses. A bill defining anti-Semitism on college campuses is still held up in the state legislature. The bill would place state statutes on colleges to regulate how they address anti-Semitism on their campuses. The House wants one version of the bill, but the Senate wants another. It's all whether to include the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism in the bill, which some Democrats oppose, saying that it would ban the criticism of the Israeli government. A man from Jeffersonville accused of assaulting police while at the U.S. Capitol 3 years ago has pled guilty. Harrison Silcox.
It's a story you may have heard before. Someone showing up to the Stop the Steal rally January 6th, 2021, before heading over to the U.S. Capitol to try and break into the building. Curtis Tate was one of the thousands who did that. He was arrested by the FBI last August. He was part of the riots and assaulted officers by throwing stuff at them and hitting a few with a metal baton. He pled guilty to charges of assaulting and resisting law enforcement Thursday. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Indiana State head coach Josh Schertz hopes his Sycamores have done enough this season to make the NCAA tournament.
We're going to go in there thinking that we have to win it to be in the NCAA tournament, and if we don't, then hopefully I think we're deserving of an at-large.
They begin their postseason tournament run in the Valley today in St. Louis. They face Missouri State at 1 o'clock. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIPC.
Good morning. It is Friday, March 8th. It is 5 minutes after 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So he started off by saying, if I were smart, I'd go home now. But apparently he didn't want the night to end because Joe Biden took about 35 minutes after finishing his speech to exit the House chamber. He was shaking hands.
Yeah.
He was chatting with members of Congress. He was answering questions. Again, I remind you, he was shaking hands with the same hand that he had been coughing in all night. And they actually started to switch the lights off on him before he would go home.
Didn't you feel worse off, like just for your humanity after you watched that last night? Like you watch presidential State of the Unions in the past, and you may disagree or you may agree with whatever the president has to say, and you may think, oh, this policy is going to be good for America, or this policy is going to be bad for America, and that generally becomes the tone of the discussion the next day, is about the substance of the speech and the content of the policies that are proposed. And this one, though, you just walked away going, why are you so mad? You've been in charge for 50 years, Joe Biden. For 50 years as a senator, as a vice president, and now a president, you have been an integral part of making these choices that have led to these things that you claim are wrong with this country. Why are you mad? Are you mad at yourself? Do you even remember you've been making these choices? You have been at the tip of the spear of leadership in this country for 50 years. So everything that's wrong, you have played some role in it.
I knew it was only a matter of time before he started going after guns, and he did not let us down. He, of course, said that he wants to ban assault weapons.
I'm proud we beat the NRA when I signed the most significant gun safety law in nearly 30 years because of this Congress. We now must beat the NRA again. I'm demanding a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Pass universal background checks.
Pass.
None of this. I taught the Second Amendment for 12 years. None of this violates the Second Amendment.
Where did you teach the
vilifies
Second
responsible
Amendment?
gun owners.
Okay. He said, I taught the Second Amendment for 12 years.
Where?
No, he paid $1 million to the University of he was paid $1 million by the University of Pennsylvania. He didn't teach a single class there. And he said that it doesn't violate gun owners. It just violates the Second Amendment. That's all.
I love that because when I played football growing up, they would always teach you if you were an offensive player and you're watching the game and your defense is out there and you see the quarterback drop back to pass, you would just yell, "Pass!" that was Joe Biden. It was high school football all over again. He also turned into Dwight Schrute there at one point, waving his arms. I just picture him waving his arms, pounding a podium, screaming at the top of his lungs when Dwight gives the speech to the Dunder Mifflin salespeople, and Jim just prints out a Mussolini speech and tells him this is the sort of speech. It's just, my gosh, Casey, there was just nothing uplifting. The thing he was most passionate about was a woman's ability to suck the brains out of a defenseless fetus. He was no more passionate last night, and I think that was the second or third thing he got into right out of the gate. Not inflation, not the border, not national defense. It was the lust, and he claimed last night that he believes
that there are enough women in this country that are passionate about sucking the brains out of a defenseless fetus, that is going to save him from inflation, from the mass illegal immigration crisis. He believes that is what is going to carry him to victory this fall.
So there was another part of the speech where he was announcing that the U.S. will establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean.
Tonight, I'm directing the U.S. military to lead an emergency mission to establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean on the coast of Gaza that can receive large shipments carrying food, water, medicine, and temporary shelters. No U.S. boots will be on the ground. A temporary pier will enable a massive increase in the amount of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza every day. And Israel must do its part.
Oh. So are we Team Hamas now?
Well, that's what I was wondering, because there's no doubt that the food and the water and the medicine that he's talking about is going to get into their hands.
And Israel must do its part. Its part to what?
He's so trying to thread that needle that it's not going to work. And how do you have a temporary shelter like that?
But Israel must do its part to what? Israel was attacked unprovoked. They killed 1,400 Israelis, many of them women and children. Israel must do its part to what, Casey? What does that even mean?
Pay for it?
Just say it. He should just come out and say, I have wilted to the lunatic left base of my party. I am giving in to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and AOC, and I have succumbed to this pressure, and we are now Team Hamas. The Biden administration government now supports Hamas. Just say it. Just say it. Maybe you can say it better than you said Laken Riley's name. But just say it, because that's what you are proposing. You are proposing giving aid and comfort to terrorists, Casey. Period. End of story.
Okay, so he talked about shrinkflation before he ever mentioned the border, and he said that now, of course, he's ready to fix the border crisis that he created.
Look, folks. We have a simple choice. We can fight about fixing the border, or we can fix it. I'm ready to fix it.
They have been promising fixing the border since 1986. In 1986, Ronald Reagan signed the legalization of 2 million illegal immigrants. He gave amnesty to 2 million illegal immigrants. Simpson-Mazzoli was the name of the bill. Look it up. And the deal in the mid-'80s, notice how I can give inflection without screaming at everyone, Casey. I can do that, but the President of the United States cannot. In the mid-1980s, the deal was border security for the amnesty to these 2 million illegal immigrants. Here we are almost 40 years later, and you still have the border more out of control than ever before. And the proposal is the exact same thing that they promised 40 years ago. Well, if you legalize all these illegal immigrants and make asylum easier and all these other things, then we'll secure the border. You always get the legalization. You always get the coddling of the people who have broke the law. You never, for 40 years, you have never once gotten actual border security. So nobody trusts you. Nobody believes it. You could fix this tomorrow, Joe Biden. You clearly are the king and a huge fan of executive orders.
Right.
So do it.
Yeah.
Issue executive orders that will secure the southern border, and I dare the Republican Party to object and take him to court.
Yeah,
it would not happen.
He could end it by reversing the executive action that he took in the first place. He's not going to do it. Okay, one last thing that we wanted to talk about with his speech last night, and that was when he was talking about vaccines and how the vaccines now are going to be the cure for cancer.
The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. That's what America does. That's what America does.
Okay, Casey, did I miss something? Because first of all, there is still cancer, right? It's still
Correct.
a thing, unfortunately, tragically.
Correct.
Joe Biden did or did not promise he was going to cure cancer in 2020 when he was running.
He did. He ran on that.
So
that was his moonshot.
That would not be a campaign promise kept.
Correct.
Just to make sure. Now, did I miss something where there are all sorts of cancer patients being cured with COVID shots? Did I?
Nope.
I mean, I'm asking out of genuine. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. That does not.
Nope.
So,
I mean, I've heard reports of turbo cancer because of the
Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of people who have died, strokes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've not missed that there is now a cure for cancer based on the COVID shot itself.
No.
Okay.
You didn't miss that.
So he might have.
Do you think he misspoke?
He could. This is the game we should play with Biden. Misspoke or lied out of his ass. That should be our new game that we play with Joe Biden. Right. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, it's going to be our feel good segment.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a special guest for our feel good segment. Somebody I'm very fond of, and it's cost him a whole bunch of friends because he's a super entrenched political person, but he's very fond of me.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a fabulous podcast out that showcases the history and
leaders and legends.
The leaders and legends that has showcased the history and people who have helped make the history of the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. Robert Vane is going to join us next.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
So I'm going to travel through time.
Time keeps on slipping into the future.
Hey kids, what time is it?
Daylight saving time.
Time doesn't wait for me.
Don't forget,
The time has come.
clocks bring forward an hour Saturday night. A reminder from 93 WIBC.
It is Friday. That means Sunday's right around the corner. And this Sunday, if you're looking for a new church home or even a first church home, can't recommend enough my friends at Life Church. You know, over the years, many WIBC listeners have found a home at Life Church. And this Sunday, Life Church would love to show you why. They're warm, they're welcoming. You're so much more than just a number at Life Church. They care about you. They've had an amazing impact on my life, on my family's life, and they make it easy for you. Campuses all across central Indiana, including Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, plus amazing online services. Learn more about it all. LifeChurchIN.com.
The invasion on our southern border is threatening every community. But Senator Mike Braun is standing up for Hoosiers and fighting Biden's border crisis. Mike Braun is a leading voice for policies that will put an end to our broken southern border. That's why Mike Braun endorsed reforms in Indiana to end sanctuary cities. Currently, local elected officials are abusing their positions and harboring illegals by declaring sanctuary city status. These leaders refusing to cooperate with ICE and border officials must be stopped. Mike Braun's endorsement of Indiana Senate Bill 181 is a step towards eliminating this lawlessness by requiring local authorities to take action against illegals in Indiana communities. Mike Braun knows we must act now to end the border crisis. Contact your Indiana state legislator at 1-800-382-9841 and thank them for supporting Senate Bill 181. Paid for by HoosierHope.org.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
Tired of hearing Rob talk about all the bad news? Time to find your happy place. Turn that frown upside down. It's time for Shining Rainbows with Rob.
It is that time of the show, Casey, where we find something good going on in the world and we talk about it.
That's right.
It is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's here.
You do such a good job at it, too.
And for something I was forced to do.
I know.
I mean, we all know I'm not actually picking something positive and spending a whole segment on it, but I've done it to the best of my ability at the direct order of upper management.
Right. They say do this or else. And you took that or else seriously, so good for you.
Yeah, and our something positive today is, this has actually been going on for quite a while now, and we've known this guy for quite a while, and it's a really great story. This guy's a really great storyteller of amazing people and things that have been going on in Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. He has a podcast. It's called Leaders and Legends. And it is Robert Vane is the name of the presenter of the podcast. And it is just this guy does a phenomenal job of finding people who have had profound impacts on the city of Indianapolis, on the state of Indiana, and bringing them on this Leaders and Legends podcast to tell their story and tell the story of our city and state. Robert Vane joins us now on the WIBC hotline. All right, Vane, how did you come up with the idea of the Leaders and Legends podcast?
Good morning to you both. Thank you for having me on.
It was not my idea. It was the idea of someone named Rachel Coverdale, who is married to Tom Coverdale, famous IU point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Rachel's a terrific business leader, and we were trying to think of ways for me to keep my profile in the news. I had just finished running, much to Rob's delight, the IPS referenda in 2018.
Yeah, because you're like you've worked for the State Republican Party, you've worked for Greg Ballard, you worked in the State Auditor's Office. You're now like a gun for hire as a political consultant / messenger.
Mm-hmm.
So you've lived in this world basically your entire adult life.
I like to consider myself the conscience of many of my clients. Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice spin. So how did you start putting this together? Because the Leaders and Legends podcast really is, and it's all people from all walks of life. You have conservative people on, liberal people on, moderate people on. It's people who have had an impact on the city and state.
The reason I did it is I wanted to start a podcast. I've always wanted to be, kind of the Irvington Larry King. I never made it. And so the idea was originally to do a podcast about public relations and professionals and that sort of thing. And I quickly said, I've got a graduate degree in medieval history. I don't know anything about public relations. But if I was to do a podcast, I'd love to talk to people about Indiana and Indianapolis and the phenomenal change of our city in the last really 57 years. And it worked out wonderfully. And there's terrific stories. I've been able to interview some people who were newsmakers when I was a kid. I was born in 1967. So one of the first things, for example, I can remember as far as Indianapolis history was the abduction of Richard Hall by Tony Kuritzis, which I think happened in February of 1977. And Richard Hall, before he died, came on the podcast, and he talked about that event, and it was one of my most favorite discussions.
Robert Vane is our guest. He has a fabulous podcast called Leaders and Legends, showcasing some of the great, memorable people who have made Indianapolis and the state of Indiana what it is. He's joining us now on the WIBC hotline. Casey.
So you've interviewed a big variety of people. I'm just going to give a couple examples. Jeff Smolian, who owns Emmis, businessman. Todd Young, U.S. Senator. Pete Ward, athlete. Clint Hill, who's a Secret Service person who was there at the JFK assassination. Historians. Who has been your favorite guest, and were you surprised by that?
Well, I think it's a great question. Clint Hill was probably the person that I just simply couldn't believe that I was talking to about one of the most memorable dates and dispositive dates in American history. I was able to interview George Will. He was a little bit reluctant, but I said, I'll only ask you about three things: baseball, history, and Mitch Daniels. And he says, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. Mr. Rob Kendall came on, and he was grilled by Chris Spangle and survived.
Hey, wasn't that like for a while one of your all-time most downloaded episodes, and most people who are friends with you listen because they hate me?
Well, it was part of I've decided your new nickname is Ken Doll because you're so handsome.
Oh, that's nice. Which person do you enjoy interviewing the most? Is it a sports figure, a businessman, politician, historian? Who do you connect with the most?
That's really, I would say all the above, because each one has something different. Let's say, example, David Frick. Most people, for better or worse, aren't really familiar with David Frick. There is no Indianapolis Colts without David Frick, who was deputy mayor for Bill Hudnut. He is, as much as anyone, responsible for bringing that team from Baltimore to Indianapolis. And I'll tell you a quick story. One of the reasons why he was so effective is because all of Baltimore Colts lawyers and executives were all East Coast, Ivy League, Rob Kendall, intellectuals. And David Frick, who went to Southport High School, graduated from Harvard Law. So they didn't treat him like some sort of Midwest, Ernest T. Bass. They treated him with respect. And if you listen to that podcast, one of the very first ones, you'll really get a sense not only about the Colts coming here, but about the Pacers marathon and the Blizzard of 78. So many of those big issues in the late 70s and early 80s, David Frick was a part of.
Robert Vane is our guest. Couple of minutes left with him. He has a fabulous podcast called Leaders and Legends, and much of what he does is he traces the history of the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. In a weird way, Vane, you're kind of like the perfect guy to do this podcast because you are such a historian and you worked in all of these entities, which gives you a working knowledge, whether it is the mayor's office or the Republican State Party or the Indiana Auditor's Office. Kind of talk about how your background in government has allowed you to get more out of these guests because you know the lingo and you know how to ask the questions that'll get the responses that'll appeal to the public.
Well, that's very kind, and I do need to acknowledge that for years, the Rob Kendall podcast was number one in listenership.
Yeah! And did how many people just disowned you because you had me on your show?
Well, let's just say I was dissed, but not disowned.
But seriously, Robert, your ability to know how the government works and how these entities work and how the levers are pulled, it's probably really helped get more stuff out of these guests.
That's very kind. The interesting thing is how so much of this stuff is connected. Quick example, in the early 70s, when you started to have people moving out of the cities, there was, let's say, a push for a new stadium or new arena, in Indianapolis. And a lot of people wanted to build it in the suburbs, whatever the suburbs were then, right? We're not talking Brownsburg and that sort of place, but Pike Township and the others. And Jim Morris and Richard Lugar found a way to use federal money for cities to build Market Square Arena downtown, and that really kick-started the revitalization of downtown. They felt a vibrant downtown was going to be very important to the growth of the city, and I was told that Mayor Lugar just didn't want to drive down to Bloomington to watch the state basketball championships anymore. And so they put Market Square Arena right there, and it really was a fabulous, fabulous decision. The total cost of Market Square Arena when it was built is roughly your salary, Rob, $7 million.
Hey, tell us where people can find the Leaders and Legends podcast. And it's great. I love listening to it. And I love, even though these people, a lot of them are really entrenched in the establishment, Casey, it's just a super interesting track. You can literally trace the entire history of this city and state that I've spent my whole life in.
I'm impressed with the variety of guests that Robert has had on. By the way, if you're interested in the Rob Kendall episode, it is number 23.
And he kept going.
Yeah, and so where should people go to get this podcast, Robert?
And Casey, that's the Rob Kendall, handsome. We almost put a kissing booth up when we were doing the interview. We're part of the All Indiana Podcast Network on Wish TV. You can find us. That's the All Indiana Podcast Network on Wish TV. And you're very kind for having me on. It's been a pleasure to speak to everyone, to be able to, obviously I started it all off with Greg Ballard, who's the best of the best, but to get a chance to talk to Bart Peterson about why he ran for a third term and talk to Jeff Smulyan about being in college with O.J. Simpson. And the list goes on and on.
And
Mitch
Eric
Daniels
Holcomb,
talked
number
about where
30.
he was on 9/11. It's been a wonderful journey, and I'm very grateful.
All right, Vane, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you go with. We're going to have you back. And at some point, Casey, we're going to do a whole hour on why Indianapolis went so blue. And you were at the epicenter, the ground floor of the last time Indianapolis went red. And let's solve this issue in 1 hour. Can we do that?
Whatever you say, sir.
All right, perfect. Robert Vane, you're the best. Thank you.
Take care.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Your nose is for breathing. Your mouth is for eating. And if you're breathing through your mouth, it's not because your body wants to. It's because it has to, because your nose isn't working properly. And although you've lived like this, it's no way to live, and it's having a significant impact on your life. I know you know this, and I know that taking action isn't always convenient. But at Advent, we've done all we can to make changing your life for the better as easy as possible. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. With tens of thousands of our patients, a thorough breathing triangle evaluation, along with a simple 20-minute in-office procedure called balloon sinuplasty, has opened their nasal passages, allowing them to breathe freely through their nose for good. And there's a good chance this procedure can do the same for you. We'll help you breathe through your nose again, and it will change your life.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What he said, wrong. It's 51 and cloudy downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. President Biden delivered his State of the Union address last night in Washington, during which he acknowledged the killing of a college student in Georgia at the hands of a man who was in the U.S. illegally.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals?
Biden mispronouncing Laken Riley's name there. Indiana Senator Mike Braun said on X that it's an outrage Biden got her name wrong. He also mentioned Donald Trump in his speech 13 times, but never mentioned Trump's name itself. Job growth rose more than expected in February. The Labor Department says 275,000 jobs were added to the U.S. economy last month. The unemployment rate rose 0.2% for nearly 4% in February. Most of the job gains were in healthcare, food services, and social assistance. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
I'm Christopher Cabano, founder of Untuck It. When I started the brand, I wanted to make the perfect fitting untucked shirt. And over the years, we changed the way guys think about how they dress. The secret was our obsession over fabric quality, listening to what our customers wanted and making everything fit perfectly. Our fit team has mastered pants, polos, sports coats, and more. So we've got you covered from head to toe. Try what millions of guys already know and love. Shop today at untuckit.com or our 80-plus stores worldwide.
Greetings, listener friends. It is Rob for Universal Windows Direct. And maybe with spring right around the corner, you're thinking, what are some things I can do to upgrade my palatial estate? Well, one of them might be Windows. And if it is Windows, listen to this deal Universal Windows Direct has going on right now. All you got to do is call 317-659-7574. That's 317-659-7574. Schedule your free in-home estimate today. And for every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 free. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. Buy 20, get 20. There is no limit with Universal Windows Direct. And Universal Windows Direct also has an incredible deal. I can't believe they're doing this. If you mention my name, all you got to do is say, Rob Kendall sent me, you get an additional $250 off your project. $250 off your project. Buy 2, get 2 free. Call today. Universal Windows Direct, 317-659-7574. Tell them Rob sent you.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
Want to find out what real retirement planning is all about? Tune in to Expedition Retirement with Greg Ayler, Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. It's time to hear from you. Kendall and Casey present Voicemails. Brought to you by QC Kinetics for non-surgical regenerative medicine treatments at 317-559-PAIN.
It is It's time for the Friday edition of Your Voicemails when we turn the portion of the program over to you. If you'd like to contribute, the number 317-684-8444. It is 10:34 with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So you've got an old high school buddy who's maybe trying to make their way into the Brownsburg High School Hall of Fame, huh? By doing something different.
So for those of you who have not been listening recently, this was revealed to me several months ago, and Kev and I have had kind of a running joke about it. And Kev said something the other day that finally made it on air. It came to my attention. Like, I live a different life than I used to lead, Casey, and in many shape, forms, and fashions, I am no longer connected to the people and things I was once connected to, and almost all of it is markedly for the better.
Good.
However, it came to my attention through a mutual friend that we had, I don't say buddy like we were hanging out at the Bellagio together, but we had a guy that we grew up with who we knew reasonably well. And it turns out he is now one of the leading male adult film stars in the world.
Okay.
And this is something that his career has expanded. I don't know what even the phrase would be over the past several years. And so I had no idea about this. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. And then I was shown evidence of the career for which he has chosen. And yes, indeed, it is 100% that person. And so we somehow got on this topic the other day that I knew this guy. And then we gave Kevin the task of trying to
set up an interview,
locate Brad Newman. That was Kevin's task. That's his stage name, is Brad Newman. And we said, Kevin, your job is to track down adult film star Brad Newman, because you, Casey, were very excited about interviewing Brad Newman.
I was not. I just suggested, hey, you know what? You talk about it a lot. Maybe you could interview him. And I love how Kevin sends me, I don't know, what is this, his Twitter account?
Yeah, that's his Twitter page.
Poor Kevin's been on a day-long... There is no media contact for this guy.
Yeah, so I did my research yesterday, and first I Googled his name, and, of course, it was a lot of his content.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up. So I got away from that.
Did you do this on a work computer? Please tell me you did this on a work computer.
No, I actually waited till I got home.
Oh, okay.
I did this on my phone.
Okay.
So eventually I just went to Twitter because it's like I figured he's got to have a Twitter.
Yeah.
And he does.
And it says this account might include sensitive content. I'm going to have to clean my phone out.
It sure does include some sensitive content.
Yeah.
But in fairness, what did you expect? It was going to be photos of him working at a soup kitchen?
No, I wasn't expecting anything. And I'm not surprised by the mustache in the profile picture either. But we did get a phone call about that.
Wait, real quick though, Kev, so you've been trying. We cannot find a media, usually with whether it's like a celebrity.
Public personality.
Right, public personality. Thank you, that's perfect. There's some sort of media contact where you can say, send your inquiry here, or this is my agent, contact this person.
He's just out there raw dogging it with no agent,
And
huh?
you...
Oh, man.
You did find a contact, but it was for if you want to book him for a scene.
Yeah, so it was like a website.
What?
And I looked at it because I thought, okay, maybe his manager, maybe I'll just find his contact info here. Well, it turns out it's a website where you can request him for a scene. And it's got like an option to upload a photo of the adult actress that he'd be working with.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I got out of there pretty quickly.
So
I bet you did.
So maybe we need some audience help on this, because our goal now, we would like to because it would be fascinating. How do you go from, and I always said he was Mr. Charm, Mr. Charisma growing up, good dude, very nice, like just mainstream American guy. How do you go from suburbia to this life? That would
this other world.
It would be fascinating to know kind of the trials and tribulations of that. And so, but we've kind of hit a
roadblock?
I feel like your friends probably have his
I don't
info,
think
right?
they do. I didn't gather that they're communicating with him.
I don't know. Let's get to this phone call.
Oh,
we might have a connection.
Goodness.
Rob said something about a guy from Brownsburg doing porn. I think this guy was in my grade. I'm not going to mention the name. But, yeah, I think this guy was in my grade. He used to be one of my best friends when I first moved to Brownsburg. Rob said it's because he was good looking. That's not why. From what I understand, it's a little more than that, Rob.
So, Kev, your job over the weekend, and you shall not rest until you get this done.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You have to find a media contact for Brad Newman because we went to his.
Sounds like that was a lead right there.
Well, but you went to the Twitter account, and it's like there's no.
No, nothing.
I was not going to ask you to slide into his DMs. I was not going to ask you to do that.
And don't ask me either.
I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Because that's not happening. I'd have to change my settings on my Twitter account.
Because look, I'm sure he would be happy to do the interview with us because he was a heck of a nice guy, and I'm sure he, probably.
How do you even label that interview? I mean, normally it's like, hometown boy makes good. Hometown guy makes.
Well, we got into this because when Mock was still here, we had Brandy Love on the show when she got kicked out with a CPAC or something. Because she's super conservative, which sounds weird, but her politics are very conservative, and she got kicked out of CPAC because they accused her of distracting the guests or whatever. And that conversation with her was very interesting. You do. With celebrities, not to say that this person is like the level of Tom Cruise, but it is often, and we were talking about this during the break, with celebrities, with athletes, entertainers, whatever, you do lose track of the side of the fact that they are, all these people are human beings, right? You only see them in a presentation of whether it's in a sports or stop
presentation.
You know what I'm trying to say here? Like if you like LeBron James is a human being. Like LeBron James wakes up and eats breakfast like everybody, or lunch or whatever. He has children. He does regular people things. You just never see that. So it is easy to lose sight of the fact of this is a human being just like everybody else.
So you're saying that this guy, just because he's an adult film actor, he's a person too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There would be a lot of layers to this interview.
And I would be fascinated to visit with my old friend.
Of course.
We used to play catch in the backyard and see how his life has ended up where it is.
Yes.
So somebody will know. Somebody will know how to get in touch with Brad Newman. And my favorite thing is Kev refers to him as Brad, as though that's his actual name.
Yeah,
Anyway.
like how do we get in touch with Brad?
That's a stage name.
And how do you address somebody? Like if you were to interview Tom Cruise is not Tom Cruise's
real
actual name. Or Hulk Hogan is not Hulk Hogan's actual name. Do we pretend that that's their actual name?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's their public persona name, so that's what you use.
That's interesting.
I mean, if you were talking to Tom Cruise, you wouldn't use
Mr. Cruise, even though he's not.
Probably Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hulk Hogan, you wouldn't call him Terry, but would you call him Hulk?
I mean, that's my question. Is it Mr. Hogan? Because his actual last name is not Hogan.
Well, I think in the case of Brad,
Mr. Newman,
you would call him Brad. Do we have time for one more phone call?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Okay, we were talking about speed dating yesterday versus dating apps, and here's a phone call about that.
Hey, Kendall and Casey. I have not been on speed dating, but I did go on Match.com. I spent a lot of money on women, taking them out to dinner. My 9th date ended up being the lady that I married.
Oh.
We've been married 5 years as of February 11th. It worked for me, but I don't think speed dating would work. Have a great one.
So he had luck with the dating app, but he doesn't think the speed dating will work.
I think that's Angelo. I think that's our the poorest conservative in Carmel who wasn't. He owes child support until he's like 72 or something like that. I think that's the same guy.
He's been married for 5 years now.
Good for him.
Congratulations to him.
Good for him. All right. So when we come back, I want to find out how fat Hammer is.
Yeah.
They did a special presentation yesterday on the Hammer and Nigel show in regards to me that Hammer wants to play.
Yeah.
And just a whole bunch more.
Okay. It's coming up with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Get your scrapbook, ladies and gentlemen, because tonight on the Tony Kinnacast, we hit the worst State of the Union address since the British burned down the White House in 1814. Tune in at 7 p.m. right here or the podcast anytime.
Fed rate cut plans have reduced mortgage rates more than a full point and dropping. If you've been waiting to sell, now is the time. Maximize your home sales price with the agent and team I recommend, Mark Deedle. Perhaps you're worried about settling for less money with a low ball instant offer. Mark Deedle guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Andy and Kim in Fortville had to say about working with Mark Deedle. We have an 8-month-old, and it was time to add more space. We heard about Mark Deedle on the radio and hired them. What they say is true. Our old home had multiple offers and went under contract in 48 hours, while at the same time, they helped us find the perfect new, bigger place. Call the agent I trust and recommend, and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietel at 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietel.com. That's Mark, Dietel.com.
You've heard about the thousands of patients finally getting relief from chronic joint pain thanks to QC Kinetics non-invasive treatments. Meet Vicky, a patient from right here in Nineveh.
The orthopedic surgeon said, well, you're going to need knee replacement sooner rather than later. I kept hearing commercials about QC Kinetics and thought, well, I'm going to check them out first.
QC Kinetics has treated over 20,000 patients like Vicky around the country. People who were told they needed surgery but chose a more natural, less invasive approach that uses regenerative treatments to help heal and restore painful joints with no downtime.
If QC Kinetics had not been what I expected, I would have gone through with the surgery, but I got so much relief, am now pretty much pain-free that I don't have to have the surgery.
Before going under the knife, you need to check out QC Kinetics. The consultation is free. Call today.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. In Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel, 317-559-PAIN.
It is Friday. That means Sunday's right around the corner. And this Sunday, if you're looking for a new church home or even a first church home, can't recommend enough my friends at Life Church. You know, over the years, many WIBC listeners have found a home at Life Church. And this Sunday, Life Church would love to show you why. They're warm, they're welcoming. You're so much more than just a number at Life Church. They care about you. They've had an amazing impact on my life, on my family's life, and they make it easy for you. Campuses all across central Indiana, including Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, plus amazing online services. Learn more about it all. LifeChurchIN.com.
Garage Doors of Indianapolis is everything that's right about Central Indiana. They've been locally family-owned for 50 years, helping our local economy remain strong by employing 70 families. Garage Doors of Indianapolis is proud to do business right here in the great state of Indiana. They're a conservative-minded company that shares our values and stands by their products and services. You can call Garage Doors of Indianapolis today for service today. 875-4577, 875-4577, or visit doorstoday.com.
Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun. Brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
No, don't call him that. His name is Jason Hammer. He's in the studio.
There's a reason why we do a weigh-in every Friday. Your boy here could use a little weight loss, right? So we started this journey on August 11th. That's when I weighed in at 271 pounds.
You were literally the size of a baby elephant.
Correct. So I said, man, I've got to lose some weight.
Yeah.
So every Friday at this time, I come into your program and I weigh in. If I lose weight or I hold, golf clap, survive in advance.
Yeah.
If I gain, even if it's 0.1, I've got to put $5 into a virtual pot that Rob Kendall can do God knows what with.
I'm giving it to Project Rescue Hammer to fight human sex trafficking
He's
across
rescuing
the globe.
hookers. That's what he's doing. All right. So last week we were at 242.4. That's pretty solid. We're down almost 30 here, right? Because we started at 271. So we got to beat 242.4. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right, Hammer, exiting the microphone. He's shuffling over to the stage, no longer really a waddle on the scale.
Oh, yeah! Let's go, baby! Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
241. See, this is the problem with like these weigh-ins for me. You're losing reasonable amounts of weight, which puts you in a good position for next week.
You're mad I'm doing it the right
Yeah,
way.
doesn't
So
really
we're
help me.
officially down 30 now. A dirty 30.
That's pretty good. Now, what is that?
But-
Let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 4. So in basically in 7 months, you've lost 30 pounds. That's 4.5 pounds a month.
However, you know me. I'm a guy that gets into holiday themes and eating.
Yep.
We're real close to March Madness.
Yeah, and St. Patrick's Day.
And St. Patrick's Day. So there's going to be some beer weight. It's going to be on your boy here.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. All right. So yesterday, when Rob came in to go off the rails, Casey.
Yeah.
We thought, you know what? We could sit here and listen to Rob rant and rave about how awful the Republicans are and how much of a zero Joe Biden is. And we thought, you know what? I think we can get the same experience for half the price. So we created AI Rob Kendall.
Oh, no.
And I want to get your thoughts on it.
I have not heard it.
Hey, it's Rob, and I'm here to talk about Brownsburg. I like to talk about Brownsburg a lot. Brownsburg, Brownsburg, Brownsburg. Knock, knock, who's there? Brownsburg! It's also common knowledge that I have no friends and generally viewed as unlikable by most people. I have a teeny, tiny, weeny, and amazing new hair. Oh, and Todd Young can kiss my Brownsburg-loving backside. Most guys named Todd are goons. Now, if you will excuse me, I must get back to my show where I get very frustrated listening to Casey talk. Because when Casey talks, that means I can't talk about Brownsburg. Brownsburg! Remember Brownsburg, Todd Young, and teeny, tiny, weeny. Off the rails! I'm Rob Kendall. Now get off my lawn. Brownsburg.
AI Rob Kendall.
Fantastic.
On the show.
I nailed it. I mean, that was a true representation.
My wife heard that yesterday, and she was like, that is amazing how much that actually sounds like you.
And I did that in 10 minutes, which means really, Rob, there's no need for you to even be here anymore.
I'm done. I've been outsourced by myself. Skynet has been activated.
Right, exactly. Okay, we just need AI to talk about, laws limiting the power of the governor.
Yeah.
And then you can just excuse
Then
yourself,
that's
Rob.
it. That's it. So I don't know what was better, AI Nigel or AI Rob. I believe AI Nigel is still my crown jewel.
Yeah.
But we're working on it.
Yeah, but I tell you what, that is... Isn't it weird how some of them sound exactly like the person, and then some you're like,
And some people are hard. Like Trump and Biden are actually hard because they're on both ends of the spectrum, right? Joe Biden, we heard last night, could either be a coked up maniac or near death. And with Donald Trump, he's the opposite. He'll start real slow, and then he'll come in over the top, and you don't know which Trump you're going to get.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump talking about like the border, whatever. They're coming across the border. They're illegals. Like you got to find that mix of soft. Oh my God, here he is.
Yeah. Donald Trump definitely harder to edit than Joe Biden. I think.
100%.
Yeah.
Also, yesterday on the award-winning Hammer and Nigel afternoon program, we decided we wanted to get everybody in the mood for the State of the Union address. We were trying to make this thing fun because we knew what it was going to be, and we were right.
Absolutely.
So we had the bingo card out, which I know you were playing last night, Casey.
Yeah, and with a stomach ache afterwards because I ate a lot of cookies with every square.
There was a bingo from the top of the B diagonal down, and that's the one that I predicted. We got a bingo.
Yeah.
So we had that. But I also put together a new single from our record label, Hammer and Nigel Records. Now, here's the thing you need to know before you listen to this. Number one, all of the lyrics are actual Joe Biden phrases, things Joe Biden has said. Wow. And number two, I put this together after I watched the movie Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Look, fat, look. Here's the deal.
Look, fat, look, here's the deal.
Where's Jackie? Is she here?
Where's Jackie? Jackie, you here?
Happy birthday, Velvet. You ain't black.
And you ain't black.
You're a damn liar. Get your word straight, Jack.
You're a damn liar, man. Get your word straight, Jack.
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. Lion, dog face, pony soldier.
Lion, dog face, pony soldier.
True international depression.
True international depression.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
True international depression.
True international depression.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Clap your hands. Kajan.
Come on.
Katanji Brown Jackson.
I'm Joe Biden's husband, Joe Biden.
I'm Joe Biden's husband, Joe Biden.
You know the thing. Let's go, Brandon.
You know the thing. Let's go, Brandon.
Log on now to vaccines.gum.
Vaccines.com.
Thank you, Dr. Pepper. I'm not going nuts.
Thank you, Dr. Pepper. I'm not going nuts.
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. Lion, dog face, pony soldier.
Lion, dog face, pony soldier.
True International Depression.
True International Depression.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
True International
True
Depression.
International Depression.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So well
yeah.
done. There it is. That's so well done.
The
Thank
hook
you.
always brings them back. Wow.
Thank you very much.
These are all real.
Yes.
He said those things.
I didn't create a single lyric.
No.
Those were all things that Joe Biden has actually said, backed up with the audio to prove it.
You know, one of the underrated ones, and we've never given it the credit it deserves because there's so many ridiculous ones, is vaccine.gum.
Such an old guy thing to do. Like, vaccines.gum.
I don't think it even dawned on me how funny that is until I heard you say it and then heard the actual clip of him saying it after you said it.
I mean, this dude has been a gaffe machine as long as he's been in Washington, right? Speaking at that one prestigious event.
Yeah.
It's a chancellor and a doctor there, and it's Dr. Paper, Paeper. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Dr. Pepper. Like, I say that at home. I say this ridiculous crap at home.
Yeah.
Crystal will hand me something. Thank you, Dr. Pepper. She just looks at me like I'm an idiot.
He last night said he was going to start creating yobs.
Yes, creating yobs and the vaccines are curing cancer.
Well, sure.
I did not have that on the bingo card.
No.
And let's bring it full circle. He was once at a birthday party for some woman he didn't know. He forgot her name and just made up a name as he was trailing off.
And it wasn't a real name. It was Velvet. Like if Velma and Velveeta had a kid. Velvet. I have no idea what that is.
What are you doing today? How do you follow up that? I mean, that is Marconi level
Thank
good
you.
right there.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we still have a few hours left to vote in Meltdown Madness presented by Window Nation. The matchup today, we didn't have time for the clips today, but it is a good one. You've got Jim Mora's Diddly Poo taking on Mike Gundy's I'm a Man, I'm 40.
Yeah.
If you want to hear the clips, it's on the podcast page, WIBC.com. Look for Hammer and Nigel, but you can vote for that matchup. Got a couple hours left, and then we will have an all-new matchup coming this afternoon at 4:35.
Do we know when Bavacqua is due up? When does Bavacqua play? Because we've got to get our audience ready to go to lift Bavacqua across the finish line.
It'll be next week. We've got some heavyweights coming up. We still have not heard from the number 1 seed in the tournament, the number 2 seed in the tournament, but number 3's been eliminated. Howard Dean had a first-round exit.
Yeah, that R. Kelly was underseeded, though. Underseeded. What's coming up this afternoon other than... Oh, did I already ask you that?
Yeah, we're going to do Meltdown Madness. It's Beer Sample Friday. I'm telling you right now, nobody has more fun on the afternoons than we do. Tell your friends. The Hammer and Nigel Show, we start after the news at 3.
Awesome stuff. Good job, Hammer. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Community Health Network cares for your heart health. From heart scans and vascular screenings to complex heart procedures, you can count on our expert team for the highest quality cardiovascular care, when and where you need it. Your path to a healthy heart starts with knowing your risk. Schedule a heart scan or vascular screening today. Visit ecommunity.com/heart. Community Health Network. Exceptional care. Simply delivered.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah! Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WHEEL to get an an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WHEEL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WHEEL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. For hunting, sporting, and personal protection gear, visit the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show.
Coming up in 2 minutes, a look at the forecast as it's going to get warm, but winter isn't quite gone yet. Plus, state senators are passing bills left and right as the end of the session looms, and Donnie Burgess reports on a bad day for a man in southern Indiana. That and more coming up from the Technology Recyclers Studios after Fox News Radio at the top of the hour. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
The great American comeback continues. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is President Biden's reaction to this morning's jobs report. 275,000 in February, more than expected, though January hiring was revised much lower.
The unemployment rate rose to 3.9% in February. That breaks a 3-month streak at 3.7%. And there's a sign wage increases are moderating. Average hourly earnings rose 0.1% in February. It's a smaller increase than forecast.
Fox's Ginny Casola. Last night, the president touted record job growth.
My inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world.
When starting his State of the Union address, he said,
"My purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment."
And President Biden never mentioned the Trump name, but he brought up his predecessor 13 times and everything from COVID to Russia to abortion rights to January 6th.
Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
Former President Trump just wrote on Truth Social, only radical left lunatics are trying to make the best of the State of the Union, calling the Biden speech angry as hell, adding, "This guy's a psycho." House Speaker Mike Johnson was often seen behind the president shaking his head. He tells Fox,
"The president can close the border entirely if he deems it to be in the country's interest." When I told him that the first time, he said, "It seems like that's the break the glass option." Well, yes, it is, Mr. President. Is 302,000 people coming across the border in December alone a break the glass moment? I think it is.
There's a manhunt in Memphis, Tennessee for the driver who shot and wounded a police officer early this morning during a highway traffic stop and then sped away. There's a new warning today from the U.S. Embassy in Russia, warning American citizens in Moscow to avoid large gatherings the next 48 hours, citing an imminent threat. U.S. citizens have already been warned about being in Russia after several Americans were arrested there accused as spies, including journalist Evan Gershkovich. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Rain and then warm. It's cloudy and 52 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. You can expect rain throughout much of the state for much of the day today.
Tonight into Saturday morning, that looks like when we're going to get the heaviest rain. And in total, we're looking at about an inch, maybe a little bit more in some areas.
Aaron Updike with the National Weather Service. We return to the low to mid-60s by next week. Still, he reminds you that winter is not quite over yet. 2 people shot on the east side early this morning. It was in a neighborhood near 10th Street and German Church Road. Commander Mike Leeper with IMPD saying that they are looking for witnesses but haven't said yet if they're looking for a shooter. State senators also passing a bill this Thursday allowing certain state office holders to carry handguns in the State House, much to the disapproval of Democrats like State Senator Greg Taylor.
We used to have at least an understanding of who was not a prohibited person.
He had hoped a provision would stay in the bill requiring a carry license to have a gun in the State House. That was removed, and now it's at Governor Holcomb's desk. Holcomb is also expected to sign a bill that would require legislative approval to extend an emergency declaration, like for COVID, beyond 60 days. A man from Scottsburg crashed in Clark County Wednesday, and now he's in jail. Donnie Burgess tells you why.
Police in Clark County found Nathan Baldwin's car rolled over on US 31 near Brownstown Road in Henryville. The cops were told Baldwin took some things out of the car and put them in the woods nearby, so they went to check. It was a backpack, and when police unzipped it, they found cocaine, meth, and something else that apparently made it clear it was indeed Baldwin's bag. He was arrested and charged with several counts of drug possession, dealing, and obstruction of justice. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Indiana State begins their quest for a spot in the NCAA tournament today. They face Missouri State in the quarterfinals of the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament.
Special seasons are based on how you perform in the postseason. The part that everybody remembers about any story is how it ends.
Head coach Josh Schertz, tip-off today at 1 o'clock. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
When it comes to remodeling your bathroom, do you think it matters if the guy who's actually in there doing the work cares about his job? Kate here from Baths R Us, and trust me, it matters a lot. Most bathroom remodelers hire the cheapest subcontractors they can find, provide no training, offer no benefits, and then fire them the second they don't have enough work to keep them busy. They can barely pay their bills, they hate their jobs, and that's the guy in there remodeling your bathroom. At Baths R Us, our installers are the lifeblood of our company, and we treat them that way. They are actual W-2 employees with great pay and benefits, insurance, 401k, vehicles, the works. We always keep them busy, and they love their jobs. So call Baths R Us if you want a gorgeous new bathroom, built with love by employees who love their jobs. Call now and get $1,500 off plus low to no monthly payments. Our number is 317-886-1761 or online at bathsrus.com. That's bathsrus.com.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake Kitchen and Bath Cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Friday, March 8th. It is 5 minutes after 11. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So there is a new law limiting the emergency powers of the governor, and that is heading to Eric Holcomb's desk. Senators voted on this. Thursday they did? It's Senate Bill 234, and it was, they had a concurrent vote, 40-8. Mostly along party lines, so now it goes up to the governor's desk.
So let me make sure I have this straight, Casey. So 2020, Holcomb shuts the state down, leaves the state shut down for the entire rest of 2020, tries to put you in jail for not wearing a mask, which is the attorney general at the time told him is unconstitutional. He can't do. He removes that. Over 1 million people were put out of work. Tens of thousands of businesses closed. Many of the businesses that were able to stay open never recovered. And so the lawmakers, that was 2020. And so the state then remained largely, or at least quasi, shut down for much of 2021. And they did nothing. They were in session and did nothing. And then 2022 came and went, and they did nothing. And 2023 came and went, and they did nothing. And so now in 2024, as Holcomb's on his way out the door, they suddenly found the strength, Casey, of 10 conservatives plus 2, and they have passed a law to limit the powers of the governor. And Holcomb graciously, for a law that will have no impact on him or his ability to put his boot on the throats of his fellow man, has agreed to sign the bill.
Yeah, he said when it reaches his desk, he intends to sign it. But not only does he intend to sign it, a big thank you to the authors of the bill and the leadership in the General Assembly for their thoughtful collaboration.
Eric Holcomb is a very gross, disgusting human being. And keep in mind, he fought the state of Indiana, the General Assembly, in court over a previous bill they had passed to limit his powers. So how did we go from fighting them in court over a bill when you were the governor to now that you're about to skedoodle your ass out the door? I'm very thankful for the people who have written this bill to bring some measure of accountability to the state. All of these people are
Well, it
disgusting,
doesn't affect him
Casey.
anymore.
Right. But it also,
so he's okay giving up his power and his authority now that he's leaving.
But it's also being done because the Republican supermajorities in the House and Senate are absolutely petrified of Eric Holcomb. And it blows my mind that they are petrified of a guy who has a 36% approval rating, according to that Fox 59 CBS poll that just came out. His approval rating in Indiana is probably similar to Joe Biden's. And yet for the past, really 7 years, going on 8 years, but especially the last 4 years, these legislators with the power to do whatever they want have been on bended knee to this guy. And now, on his way out the door, They want to act like they've done something great, or to use a Holcomb phrase, noble, or that they care about you at all. No, these people are cowards. All of these people that are touting this are cowards. Gutless, timid cowards who did nothing, absolutely nothing to help you. You know what they did do when they came back at Org Day in 2020? They exempted themselves from the mask mandate. People may remember that. That is the one very swift action that the lawmakers, the super majority Republicans, took, was to exempt themselves from the thing you had to do. Look, it's not going to do any good. People are going to keep, especially outside of our listening area, going to keep voting for these clowns. But these people hate you. They hate you. They mock you. They belittle you when you're not around. They tell you what they think of you. Look at what they're doing with the thing with the public access counselor. They don't want you to even have the ability to know if they're following the laws that they put in place, because they don't fear you, and we have made it so that they don't fear us.
So Suzanne Crouch is on board with this. She said for our government to serve the people the best, we need a balance of power, and that she's committed to working with legislators to ensure that Hoosiers always have a say in matters that directly impact their families and businesses.
Now, where was that, Casey? Where was that in 2020?
Right.
Where was that in 2021? You know, we asked her about it when she sat right over there, and she said, well, I don't want to talk about the past. It doesn't do us any good. It absolutely does us good to talk about the past, because where was Suzanne Crouch when she had the ability to be a voice that could have actually prevented this from happening? 1 million people lost their jobs, Casey. 1 million people, tens of thousands of businesses never were ever to reopen. He tried to put people in jail for not wearing a mask, and she didn't say boo.
Another thing that happened yesterday, and this is on the federal level, 170 Democrats voted against the Lake and Riley Act.
Right.
So this bill requires that ICE arrest or detain illegal aliens like the one that murdered her until they are removed from the country.
They voted against this.
170 Democrats don't care about your safety.
Wow.
They did. They voted against this. Crazy. And here's some audio. This is from Building America's Future. They put this out just before they were to take the vote to try and sway these 170 Democrats.
Lake and Riley should have been able to go on a run in broad daylight without being murdered by an illegal immigrant. But Joe Biden promised not to deport illegal immigrants.
Should that person be deported? That person should not be the focus of deportation.
Biden vowed not to detain illegal immigrants who cross the border.
No one would be put in jail while waiting for their hearing.
So when Jose Ibarra crossed into America illegally, he was not deported. He was not put in jail. Biden also supported sanctuary cities.
Should undocumented immigrants arrested by local police be turned over to immigration officials?
No.
So when Jose Ibarra was arrested in New York City for endangering a child, he was freed a second time. Ibarra went to Georgia, where he beat Lake and Riley to death. How many more killers has Biden set free? Building America's Future is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So pretty direct and pointed audio clip. So the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has come out and he's said that she would still be alive if the Biden administration had done its job.
Okay. We're going to need some extended time for the Todd Young thing.
Oh. Are we?
Well, I mean, what did you think? I was going to get it done in 2 minutes. So the Duke of Spendingburg made the news.
He had an announcement yesterday, didn't he?
Big announcement.
Yeah.
And everybody who voted for this guy should be totally ashamed of yourself. So let's talk about Todd when we come back.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
So I'm going to travel through time.
Keeps on slipping into the future.
Hey kids, what time is it?
Daylight saving time.
Time doesn't wait for me.
Don't forget.
The time has come.
Clocks bring forward an hour Saturday night. A reminder from 93 WIBC.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
I'm Chris Riccobono, founder of Untuck It. When I started the brand, I wanted to make the perfect fitting untucked shirt. And over the years, we changed the way guys think about how they dress. The secret was our obsession over fabric quality, listening to what our customers wanted and making everything fit perfectly. Our fit team has mastered pants, polos, sports coats, and more. So we've got you covered from head to toe. Try what millions of guys already know and love. Shop today at untuckit.com or our 80-plus stores worldwide.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, you may be in big trouble.
Yeah?
Free alignment and a free oil change?
On any 4-tire purchase.
And Michelin's up to $175 off?
Right.
Sorry, Mike, but I'm telling.
But the Wood family is behind all this.
Oh, those rascals.
But don't tell the accountants.
Of course not. What do they do again?
Buy any set of 4 tires at Tire Discounters and get a free alignment and oil change. Make them Michelin's and save up to $175 more. See store for details.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show.
Listen, I'm a politician, which means I'm a cheat and a liar. And when I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops.
On 93 WIBC.
He had a statement yesterday, and
Exciting.
it goes against what a lot of Hoosiers are saying right now, which is interesting.
It would not serve Hoosiers well?
It would not serve. It wouldn't serve him well, apparently. It is 15 after 11 with Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So we're talking about Senator Todd Young.
The old Duke of Spendingburg.
Yeah, what did he say? He came out yesterday and said he was not going to support Donald Trump and his bid to secure the Republican presidential nomination.
Okay, so as usual, this guy's a complete clown. But help me work through this.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the fact that at this stage of the game, Todd Young thinks Donald Trump would need or request or in any shape, form, or fashion want his help speaks to you the arrogance and narcissism of our old pal, the Duke of Spendingburg. However, hasn't Donald Trump already secured the nomination?
Yeah, I mean, unofficially, sure.
So what Todd did in classic Todd fashion, because he's a big, giant chicken and a big, fat coward, amongst big, fat other things, who, remember, was only willing to move aggressively towards me at the Stack's Pancake House when he had the armed Hendricks County Sheriff's deputy behind him, which is weird because I thought Todd was a big, tough Marine, but he needed an armed deputy behind him. And for people who doubt what we said occurred, we have heard from multiple people who were at the event who have confirmed everything I've told over the years is exactly how it went down. True or false?
True.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what this chicken did was he waited until there was no one left to run against Trump. He didn't have this the ballular area to come out and endorse Nikki Haley because he knew she was going to get her ass kicked.
Right.
And because he's a giant chicken and a coward, he waited until after Trump had smoked her on Super Tuesday, and the only thing he had to say was, well, I'm not going to support Trump in his bid to be the Republican nominee, after he was already the presumed nominee. Did I miss any part of that?
No, you got it.
What a chicken.
Yeah.
Todd Young, what a chicken and a coward. And since Igor, his evil, awful assistant, admitted that day at the Stack's Pancake House, they listen all the time. Todd Young, you're a big, giant chicken and a coward. Igor, you're a big, giant chicken and a coward. And anybody who props up Todd Young or works for Todd Young is a giant chicken and a coward.
So here's my question. Why say anything at all? He didn't have to unendorse Trump.
Because this is how we started the show with Biden. Why would you behave the way Biden behaved last night, where he was trying to get into arguments with members of the House and Senate who were not agreeing with the points he was making? Because the level of narcissism of these people, the level of self-importance of these people, the sociopathic behavior from many of these people In some cases, I'm not saying they are serial killers, but I'm saying it's serial killer level. These people believe that they walk on water.
You think this is just attention-seeking behavior? Because if he had said nothing, nobody would even know. You wouldn't be sitting around your family room going, oh, did Todd Young endorse Donald Trump? I'm really curious. I need to know this information.
Because Todd Young believes that his voice really matters in this equation. He not only that it matters, he believes it's more important than yours, which we warned you. We warned you about this guy on this show in 2022, and we told you, if you vote for this guy, this is what you're going to get because this is what he is. And all these people, well, I don't disagree with that. I don't like what Todd Young has done. Well, then you're not going to vote for him. Well, I can't risk getting a Democrat in there. He might be worse. How could whoever that was, it was McDermott. How could Tom McDermott have been any worse? Todd Young has voted for all these spending bills. He's voted for all this stuff that sends money to foreign governments over ours. He has repeatedly been a knife in the back of conservative and liberty-minded people. He has now come out and said he's not going to support Donald Trump. What would the difference have been, Casey? Mm-hmm. What would the difference have been if Tom McDermott had won the U.S. Senate race over Todd Young?
When I first saw this headline yesterday, the first thing that ran through my mind, he's a Democrat.
Yeah, bingo, ding, ding, ding.
Walking around with a Republican.
Yes.
With an R behind his name.
Absolutely. If you took Todd Young's voting record, the only thing you might look at Todd Young is he has been a pretty reliable vote on the judges. And, of course, he's done that because his adult supervision, Mitch McConnell, in the Senate has told him what he's going to do. But if you simply took Mitch McConnell's voting record, or I'm sorry, well, same guy, doesn't matter. Mitch McConnell, Todd Young.
It's the same picture.
I can almost promise you that if you stopped an average person on the street and you laid out the highlights, or in this case, the lowlights of the Todd Young voting record, and said, identify the party of this person. He is the highest spending Republican in the U.S. Senate. He is almost the highest spending senator in the entire U.S. Senate, including names like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. That person would, a random person on the street would identify Todd Young as a Democrat.
Last night during the State of the Union address, when Joe Biden was talking about the CHIPS Act, were you thinking about Todd Young?
I can honestly say I did not at any point. I think actually that may have been, there was a moment. So in the middle of the State of the Union, my daughter was sleeping. She woke up for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
She turned her head, looked at the television. She saw Joe Biden. She began crying at a ridiculously loud level. This took place for about 30 seconds, and then she put her head back on my chest and went back to sleep. I think that might have been when that was taking place. Even an 8-month-old knew what was going on and how to respond to it, Casey.
Okay, so Todd Young not going to endorse Donald Trump.
Who cares?
He did not endorse Nikki Haley.
Who cares?
So he's just out there doing his own thing, right?
I would be fascinated, Casey, to hear from people who voted for Todd Young. I believe our audiences are honest enough brokers that they will be willing to admit if they believe they made a mistake or they are now disappointed in their vote. So I'd be fascinated over the weekend, 317-684-8444. If you are a person who voted for Todd Young, do you now, given his voting record the past year and a half, do you now regret giving your consent to be governed by this just narcissistic, just egomaniac, elitist clown? Do you regret that vote?
This is a voice that we haven't heard for a while, and we need to take a break from all of the State of the Union address.
Exciting.
Biden, and it's Ron DeSantis.
Oh, yeah. He's still alive?
He is. He's still around.
How exciting.
And he's ripping on Nikki Haley for not signing the pledge to endorse Donald Trump.
But yeah, I signed the pledge, and you signed the pledge saying that you're going to not take your ball and go home. And so I honored the pledge, and she's going to have to make a decision about whether she wants to or not. But the idea that somehow circumstances have changed, I think we all knew what we were doing when we did that, and you got to make a judgment about whether that's meaningful to you. And so for me, I tell people, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Do you miss hearing his voice now that you've heard it again? I know you were never a big fan.
Oh, no, I don't like his voice.
No.
I miss the idea that he could have been the face of the party.
Mm-hmm.
But here it kind of does come full circle. Look at the people who are running the Republican Party. To steal a line from Hillary Clinton, what difference does it really make? Look at the people who are calling the shots inside the party. Look at the people that are calling the shots inside the state party. When you have the party, the power structure of the party apparatus that is overrun with big government, big spending leftists at this point, what difference does it make whether it's Trump or anyone else that gets in there? Because how are they going to fight not only the other guys, how are they going to fight their own guys? Look at who is running. Look at the deciders, the decision makers. Look at the actual results of the Republican Party. I'll ask the same question that we asked about Todd Young. I'll ask it about the National Republicans. They've had control of the House of Representatives for almost 14 months now. What is different in this country than if the Democrats had just kept control?
Yeah, I'm confused as to why Todd Young didn't endorse Nikki Haley, other than the fact that he didn't believe she would win and he didn't want to be attached to that. Because they both love spending money.
Yeah.
They both love sending money to other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like peas in a pod. You'd think that he would have endorsed her.
And here's the other should be colossal red flag on the Todd Young saga. Who recently did he say he was really giddy about getting to join him in the Senate?
Jim Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Banks has been endorsed by Holcomb Hupfer Incorporated, a.k.a. State Party, and Todd Young is super excited about that guy coming into the Senate. Does that sound like someone, if you're a conservative or liberty-minded person, that you should be really jazzed up about how they're going to govern the next six years? Just look at the track record of Eric Holcomb and of Todd Young, and you tell me if you feel good about those two guys giving a thumbs up and putting their stamp of approval behind whoever that candidate would be. Does that sound like someone, when the chips are down, is going to side with you or is going to side with them?
It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC. So coming up on Sunday, Rob, we have to spring forward at 2 a.m. Daylight saving time.
Oh, you didn't put the S on it. Good job.
No, because that's not what it's called.
Well,
right?
I know, and you're a trained professional, but some people do put an S on it. It's an Indiana thing. It's like many of the other words, like Kroger's or the Myers. But you, as a trained expert in dictation, did properly enunciate daylight saving time.
So we got a voicemail. Somebody called and said, do you remember last year about this time there was talk that there would be a bill and were they going to change daylight saving time?
Well, they have this conversation all the time.
And it's an annual thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on right now about that.
No, I've heard nothing about this.
Yeah, I haven't either. A lot of research showing that the abrupt seasonal shift will disrupt your circadian rhythm.
My what?
Your circadian rhythm.
What is that?
I don't. It's your sleep pattern.
Oh. No, I've got an 8-month-old that disrupts my sleep pattern. I don't need
you
the circadian
don't need daylight saving
rhythm.
time for that. You've got
I'm
a baby
fine.
that'll do that.
I've got my own in-house counsel on that one.
It'll also increase your fatigue level, and it also brings up a heightened level of risk for heart attack and stroke.
Well.
That's comforting to think about as you spring forward on Sunday.
Are we having this conversation now, or are we going to break? What are we doing?
You want to go to break and
well,
then
I don't
have
care.
the conversation?
I just think it's worthwhile for us to talk about, should it be light at 10 o'clock in the evening?
Okay.
I don't see what the purpose is of it being light at 10 o'clock in the evening and it not getting light until 8 in the morning. I don't see how I am better served by those things happening. And I've never fully understood this.
All right. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, over 3 million people called Morgan & Morgan in their time of need. And with over 1 million of those calls coming from previous clients, friends, and family.
My name is Jeannie. I was sitting in traffic and I was hit twice from behind by 2 different cars. My first thought was Morgan & Morgan. I was very surprised at how easy it was. I did not have to go into the office. I did everything by text. They needed documents. I could sign them. I could upload them. I could send them right back with ease. Call Morgan & Morgan. It's easier than you think.
Thank you for trusting us. We've become the largest injury firm in the world because we've won a lot. The word is out. Size matters. Reputation matters. We're America's largest injury law firm for a reason. With over 900 dedicated attorneys and climbing, we're ready wherever you are, whatever you need. The choice is easy. We're just a phone call away. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle.
Unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Discovery, innovation, progress. It all starts right here at IU Indianapolis. We're making cutting-edge discoveries in science, technology, and healthcare. We're investing in Indiana's future with degrees that make a difference. We're partnering with local businesses to drive our city forward. And we're just getting started. See where we're going at indianapolis.iu.edu/start.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
He wants the bill passed. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. President Biden calling on Congress to pass a bipartisan border deal negotiated by a group of senators.
This bill would save lives and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when the number of migrants at the border is overwhelming.
In his State of the Union, the president also referred to Laken Riley, the college student killed in Georgia by an illegal immigrant, although he mispronounced her name as Lincoln Riley. Daylight saving time is this weekend. Most of the country will be springing forward Saturday night into Sunday morning. Clocks will set forward an hour beginning at 2 a.m. on Sunday, shifting 60 more minutes of daylight to the evening hours. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hey, Wings Etc. fans, guess what? March 13th is Wing Schooner Madness Day. We're rolling back prices on award-winning wings and big ice cold schooners to just 59 cents for wings and $5.25 for domestic schooners. Dine in only. Mark your calendars for this Wednesday, March 13th, and get great deals on wings and domestic schooners when you dine in on Wing Schooner Madness Day. This March 13th, one day only, and only at your local Wings Etc. Wings Etc. Grill and Pub with 15 Central Indiana locations. Find us online at wingsetc.com.
My brother never checks on Dad. Or, my sister won't make time to take Mom to the doctor. Are these things you've heard yourself say? This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joyce House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I have a caregiving tip for you. Stay tuned.
At Cardon Senior Living Communities, you'll find our teams share a commitment to enhancing the lifestyle and well-being of the people we serve every day at every stage of life.
Expressing anger or resentment toward unsupportive siblings can cause unmendable rifts in relationships. Don't try to control everyone else. You can only control yourself. The success of your caregiving journey does not rest on others. So enjoy the time with your loved one. This is your special time with them. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joyce House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access the library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
Indy's leader in patio installation is now offering a new driveway package. Schedule a free estimate today at IndyDecorativeConcrete.com. That's IndyDecorativeConcrete.com.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
When we last left the Kendall and Casey Show, they were discussing daylight saving time.
Yeah.
It is 11:32.
What am I doing?
93 WIBC.
What am I doing this weekend?
You're springing forward.
So I got to move my clocks forward.
Mhm.
Is that Sunday morning I do that?
Yeah, 2 a.m.
Okay, so this was always the conundrum.
Yeah.
Was the fall was the most beautiful day of the year because there was an extra hour for drinking, and the spring was the most dreadful day of the year because there was one less hour of the drinking. Although I think they changed the rule where the bars could stay open till 4 a.m. because of the one less hour. But I don't know. It's just subconsciously. It's like, am I really going to be drinking until 4 a.m.?
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean,
even if you could.
Even though it's
you can do that from your family room, though.
Well, it's the equivalent of 3 a.m. But it was kind of like, I don't know. That's silly that I felt like I was somehow more, noble or good if I only drank till 3 instead of 4. But anyway, I've long pondered, and I'm sure there is merit and there are people who dramatically benefit from this, but why how am I better served by it being light until 10 p.m.? Like, what am I getting out of that versus what I'm giving up, which is it not getting light until, say...
More time after work?
8 to what?
I cut the grass.
The only thing it gets me is on my weekend job, I have to work later. That's the only thing it actually gives me.
Right, at the golf course.
Yes, because I'm in an industry where people will play until long past when they should be playing. And so they will push the envelope, which means it's a 10 o'clock night for me, which really... I guess I make more money, but it doesn't, that's also more I got to be away from my family. I have yet to hear a valid common sense argument for the public at large. Again, I'm sure there are individual pockets or industries where it's beneficial for it to be light until 10 o'clock, how that betters me versus it getting light earlier.
So what you're saying is that you don't like it being light out later at night.
Yeah, it's not, 10 o'clock is night. That is not daytime. 10 o'clock is not daytime. That is night.
So what are you proposing?
Well, I'm not saying I have all the answers here. I'm just saying
You don't need daylight saving time?
I don't. Why can't we just be in the central time zone? What would be the great conundrum of us just simply being in the central time zone? Can anybody give me a reason why we can't just say that?
Does it have to do with economic?
Yeah, I heard this.
Forces?
Somebody just...
You want to be attached to...
Here's the thing. Well, okay, multiple people said that. It's for the farmers in their fields.
Yeah.
Well, how did the farmers survive? I think we're a pretty big farming state, right? Like Indiana's track record is farming. Didn't we do pretty well in farming before we did this? We opted into this thing, whatever that was, 2 decades ago or whatever.
Right.
And there was also something charming too about the way the time would alter, that I could get home in time to watch the Cub game.
But you don't watch baseball anymore.
Well, I don't.
You gave up on that.
But I'm just like,
right.
I've yet to hear, and I get it may be beneficial for the farmers somehow, but the farmers seem to do pretty well pre-daylight saving time when we were just in this stew of the clocks were, rotating. I was fine with that. That, hey, 1 week the NFL game starts at 1 or noon, and then it's 1. Just 1 week, it's just they moved to 1 p.m. That was the most inconvenience I had. Was 1 week in the fall, the NFL games went from starting at noon to starting at 1 p.m. That was not that big of a disruption for me.
Are you finding that you're complaining more because you're losing an hour? Like, do you not like this when you fall back? Like, in the fall, we gain an hour.
No, you know me. My internal everything is just amazing. And so the adjustment has never been that big of a deal to me. I just tell my mind it is whatever time we say it is, and then that becomes whatever time that it is. It's not losing an hour is not all that big of a deal to me. It is just simply, I know for the next several months, I'm going to be escalating towards a more difficult existence with it being light until 10 p.m. And I have not heard, if farming is the issue, we did farming before we did this, and Indiana's always been a farming state.
The American Psychological Association says that the average person gets about 40 minutes less sleep on Monday after daylight saving time compared to other nights of the year because of this springing forward.
I would buy that.
Yeah.
And then you got to change all the clocks.
You got to change all the clocks. And then, as we mentioned, there are, according to studies, a lot of adverse health effects.
I believe that. They're killing us.
24% higher risk of heart attack, 11% spike in depression, because we need more of that, 8% higher risk of stroke, and here's another one, 6% rise in fatal car accidents.
Yeah.
Is it because people are tired?
Could be.
Worn down?
And we don't play it anymore. We agreed, I think last year we were going to retire the Matt Hiblin.
Right, where he went on that rant.
Yeah, which is epic, and I wish we could bring that back, but Matt insisted we retire it. He pretty much summed it all up. We're just manipulating time. The time is the thing. You're just in your own mind saying it is whatever time that you say it is. And that's what we're doing. So I don't know why people feel better about this. Again, what was the biggest inconvenience that I had under the old system that worked pretty well throughout my youth? I had 1 week I had to remind myself, hey, the NFL game now starts at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Right. It all comes back to sports.
Why was that so hard for me? It wasn't. It was pretty easy.
Worked out pretty well. It is Kendall and Casey. It's 93 WIBC. So in preparation for the State of the Union address, Joe Biden had it was about like a 3.5 minute video conference call with fake presidents.
Okay, wait a second. I don't mean to cut you off on this. Somebody just said this in the YouTube chat, and I've got to dispute what they're saying here. You can watch us on YouTube, by the way. Kendall and Casey, you can find us. Somebody just said, not getting home from work until 6:30. It is awesome to have 3+ hours of daylight to get yard work. No, night is still night. We've had this conversation before on the show about etiquette in regards to cutting your grass or whatever else. You cannot be cutting your grass at 9 at night. See, that's just bad etiquette on John's part. If you were trying to cut your grass at 9 p.m., it doesn't matter whether the sun's out or not. Professional people still have to live lives and get up and go to work and everything else. And we had, I think we did a whole saga on this about what the rules of etiquette were and when you could cut your grass. My buddy Bart, who is just the salt of the earth, gave me the rules on the weekend grass cutting and everything else. No, you cannot be cutting your grass whether that sunlight is out or not at 9 p.m. because not everybody plays by the same set of standards.
I don't have an issue with it because I love the twilight hour, the golden hour. It's that evening time. And I feel like with daylight saving time, it extends the golden hour, twilight time.
Well, where you live, it's just less likely you're going to get hit by a stray bullet.
I don't know. Is it less likely or more likely that
I think the shooting is less likely to
happen
take
when the
place
sun's
when
out,
the sun is
when
up.
it's light.
It's easy to identify the perpetrator.
Yeah, that's true.
If the sun is up.
But it could also encourage more people to be out causing trouble.
Because your favorite game you and your husband play as you sit on the top of your high rise,
gunshot or firework,
is gunshot or firework. Mm-hmm. Have you gotten pretty good at the accuracy?
Oh yeah. I can definitely tell the difference.
You're that good now.
Definitely sound different.
Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you. That is poor form if you're cutting your grass at 9 p.m.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, we were talking about the video that Joe Biden did before the State of the Union address.
Yeah.
And he sat down with fake presidents, and he was getting advice from them. And here's Morgan Freeman talking about the time that he was president.
Well, sir, in my capacity as president, all I had to deal with was a meteor. One of the things that I came out of that with in my speech to people is hope. Hope is the strongest force we have in this country.
So Morgan Freeman played the fictional president Tom Beck, and he's talking about the movie Deep Impact. And this, you remember that movie, right?
No, I've never seen that movie.
You've never seen that movie, Deep Impact?
Casey, we have been over this. I've been to the movie theater one time in 9 years.
Yeah, but that's one of those. I mean, it came out in 1998. It's been around a while.
No,
it's one
I've
of those
never
one
been.
That plays over and over again.
I think if I went to a movie theater one time a year throughout my entire, well, at least certainly my adult life, but even through like pre-adult existence, like teenage existence, that was a lot. No, I don't have attention span for movies. I don't even barely have attention span for this show.
Isn't it bad that there's some make-believe presidents that are better than the real one?
Well, isn't it also bizarre that it's like a national crisis and he's Chuckles McGee over here, that this is all just fun and games to him?
With the fake presidents. He didn't have Harrison Ford on there, who was a fake president.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On Air Force One.
Best fake president was the guy in Independence Day.
Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman, thank you.
Right.
Yes.
There's also Michael Douglas was a fake president. He played Andrew Shepard in The American President.
It's true. What was Michael Douglas's dad was also no. That's Estevez, Charlie Sheen's dad.
He was a fake president in West Wing.
Yes, that's right. I always get those two confused. Yeah.
You've got Billy Bob Thornton was a fake president. He didn't have a name as a president. He was just the president.
Oh, they didn't have like President so-and-so?
Nope, they didn't give him a fake name. That was in Love Actually.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that one, that rom-com.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally Love Actually.
Jack Nicholson was a fake president.
It probably stars the one good-looking guy, and it had the one good-looking girl.
Jack Nicholson in Mars Attacks.
That's true, yes.
He was a fake president. And Kevin Kline in the movie Dave. I once caught a fish this big. He was a fake president.
Isn't it amazing they got Jack Nicholson to be in the movie Mars Attacks? The guy from A Few Good Men in The Shining, somehow, I don't know what that check was, but can you believe they wrote a big enough check?
It was a big one.
To let him be, that he agreed to be in that movie?
If you want to see the list of fake presidents, just head over to WIBC.com. It's right there, your side piece. Hey, we've got Susan Beckwith who's going to join us next. We're going to talk about wedding etiquette coming up from 93 WIBC.
Big Hammer and Nigel show this afternoon. We'll recap
the State of the Union. We're going to have a good time. It's Beer Sample Friday, Meltdown Madness. Let's do the thing. You know, the thing. 93 WIBC.
The invasion on our southern border is threatening every community. But Senator Mike Braun is standing up for Hoosiers and fighting Biden's border crisis. Mike Braun is a leading voice for policies that will put an end to our broken southern border. That's why Mike Braun endorsed reforms in Indiana to end sanctuary cities. Currently, local elected officials are abusing their positions and harboring illegals by declaring sanctuary city status. These leaders refusing to cooperate with ICE and border officials must be stopped. Mike Braun's endorsement of Indiana Senate Bill 181 is a step towards eliminating this lawlessness by requiring local authorities to take action against illegals in Indiana communities. Mike Braun knows we must act now to end the border crisis. Contact your Indiana state legislator at 1-800-382-9841 and thank them for supporting Senate Bill 181. Paid for by HoosierHope.org.
Well, mortgage rates have dropped more than a full point, and they're still dropping. So if you've been waiting to sell, now is the time. Max out your home sale price with the agent and team I recommend. That is Mark Dietl. Maybe it's time to downsize, like Claire and Gary in Danville. They were retiring, moved to Florida. Now their home in Danville was on the market for almost a year with their old agent. They hired Mark Dietl. Things changed pretty fast. They got an offer they thought they would never get. Mark and his team were a lifesaver.
Mark Dietl is the only real estate expert we trust and recommend here on the Hammer and Nigel show. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts. Contact Mark Dietl today, 317-755-4232, or go to markdietl.com. Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietl.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Hey, guys, it's Rob from my friends at We Grow Hair Indy, and man, it has been 3 years, more than 3 years now, since I had the multi-unit hair grafting transplant, and it worked awesome. I know you're saying, man, I don't know if this We Grow Hair Indy stuff, if it's for me. The great thing about We Grow Hair Indy, and this is what I found the moment I walked in the door, you got nothing to lose and everything to gain, because your consultation, totally free. Your consultation, totally no pressure. And We Grow Hair Indy, they're going to take a look at what you got going on up top. They'll examine it, and then they'll give you some options. And they'll tell you what they might be able to do to help you. The consultation, like I said, totally free. Darren and the gang at We Grow Hair Indy, totally first class all the way. 317-522-2995. 317-522-2995, or head over to WeGrowHairIndy.com. WeGrowHairIndy.com. Tell them Rob sent you, and you could end up with a life-altering head of hair.
The Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. For hunting, sporting, and personal protection gear, visit the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show.
Susan, looks like I'm losing. I'm losing my mind.
It is that time, Casey, where we send our audience into the weekend prepared to be better members of the stew in which we're all incorporated in.
Well, we try. We give them the information. It's actually up to them to behave, but we're just the messenger at this point.
All we can do is give you the information.
Yeah.
And you know the old saying, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. It is the Kendall and Casey Show, and we end our show each week on Friday with our very own former Miss Indiana, Susan Beckwith, and she gives you the tools necessary to have, well, better manners. And that's why the segment's called Mind Your Manners. All right, Susan, so we have touched on this before. I think we did this last year as we were nearing the wedding season. As a wedding guest, how you should behave, how you should interact, and how you should be a decent member of society. But this week, as many, many people will be getting hitched this summer, you are prepared, correct me if I'm wrong, to tell us the etiquette of planning a wedding.
Yeah, we're going to touch on a few things. This is such a vast topic that will pretty much just scratch the surface. But if you are planning a wedding, we're going to review some things, starting with invitations.
Oh, how exciting. Now, full disclosure, I got married in my backyard.
and Susan's husband, Micah, was the officiant. He was on time, he moved quickly, and we were married in 5 minutes or less. What more could you possibly ask for? But I'm assuming, Susan, the etiquette you're going to teach us is if you're having sort of maybe a little larger scale wedding.
Yeah, so if you are having a little bit larger wedding, the traditional or the protocol is 6 to 8 weeks in advance is when you should mail the invitations.
Casey?
Yeah.
When was the last time you went to a wedding?
I was thinking about that. It's been a while. Like, I think it might have been 2-3 years ago.
I got an invitation.
And they're divorced now, so.
You were bad luck.
No, it wasn't me.
6 to 8 weeks. So that is not the reminder. That's the actual invitation itself, Susan.
Yes, and if you, like Dan and Sarah, so my brother-in-law just got engaged, so happy for them, but they are going to have a fairly short engagement. So in that circumstance, you would not need a save the date. So that's another good rule of thumb. You know, if it's a short engagement, don't worry about the save the date.
Yeah, we were only engaged for like 2 months because I didn't want to give her a chance to change her mind.
Exactly. You want to give her a chance to think about it. Runaway bride.
Do we know what the usual length is of engagements, Susan? You're the etiquette queen. Do you have any idea what the normal time is? Is it a year? Is it 6 months? Like, maybe you don't have an exact date, but ballpark it.
You know, I'm not sure. I know ours was a year and it felt like forever. So I think if I were to go back, I would definitely opt for something shorter. But we were doing long distance, so that did help. But if I could go back, I would definitely have made it a shorter engagement. But I would say 6 months to a year. You know, anymore, venues book up. I mean, I'm talking over a year out. And so I understand if couples do opt for a longer one just so that they can get the venue that they're really wanting.
Susan Beckwith is our guest. It's the Mind Your Manners segment. We're talking about etiquette if you're planning a wedding. All right, so the invitations need to go out 6 to 8 weeks in advance. What's next?
Okay, so on the invitation, the bride's name traditionally goes first.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you probably have seen this in the past. When you get a formal invite for a wedding, you'll sometimes see the parents listed as well. But, you know, any more weddings, couples are helping to pay for their weddings, and it's, you know, it's kind of a group effort. So in that case, you can say together with their parents instead of listing out just the bride's family, because traditionally that's how weddings were paid for. It was kind of the bride's family handled the wedding, the groom's family handled the rehearsal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's no longer a thing anymore, you're saying, for many people. Look, my wife got off easy because, well...
It was a small wedding in the backyard.
There wasn't really much to it. And that's how I am. I'm a courteous person, Casey.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking of other people's finances.
Sure.
But you're telling me, Susan, that's not even necessarily a thing anymore, that the women have to pay for the wedding.
Right. I would say wedding costs, you know, how they're being handled and how it's being split has really evolved. And, you know, it's absolutely where couples are chipping in, you know, both parents are contributing. So traditionally that's how it was done, but I would say it's definitely evolved from there.
All right. What's next?
Okay. So we're at the wedding. Let's talk about seating. So as a general guideline, the person closest to the bride comes down the aisle closest to the bride. So let's see. So you would start with the grandparents of the groom. Then you move to the grandparents of the bride, and then the parents of the groom, and then the parents of the bride. So that's how they would.
Whoa! Time out. That was so complicated.
I know there's a lot of detail.
Okay, say that again, slowly.
Okay. As a general guideline, it's the person closest to the bride comes down the aisle closest to when she comes down the aisle. Mm-hmm. So, you know, she's the last one to come down the aisle. So you start with, you would consider it like the people not closest to the bride, which I'm sure they have a great relationship, but you're going to start with the groom's family, basically.
Yeah. I never knew before right now that there was an order on that. I thought just people just kind of sat where they wanted, and it was, no, you're telling me there's an actual order in good standing on this.
Yes. And there's a lot of protocol with weddings. Like I said, we could barely scratch the surface, but that's a good thing to remember. Mm-hmm. Also, anybody that is walking down the aisle, so grandparents, parents, people that are, you know, do a special reading, they should all have a reserved area dedicated to them, so they know exactly where they're supposed to go when their part is completed.
Now, look, Kay, I struggle with you, Casey, because you live in a literal high-rise now, and you've been very successful, and you've got a giant vault in the high-rise where you're like Scrooge McDuck jumping in your coins.
Yeah.
But I imagine that you were not always like this.
Correct.
What was your wedding like?
It was a traditional wedding.
Yeah.
It was in a Catholic church.
Yeah.
My parents paid for a good portion of it. His parents paid for the rehearsal dinner portion of it. And he and I split some costs. Like, I believe he paid for the flowers. I bought my own wedding dress.
Oh, wow.
That sort of thing.
How many people were at your wedding?
I believe it was probably about 100. Now, the thing you got to know about the day I got married, it was sunny and 60 the week before we got married, sunny and 60 the week after we got married. The weekend we got married, it was an actual blizzard and 20 degrees, and he got stuck on the way to the church.
No!
Groomsmen in tuxes pushing him up a hill.
Susan, do we have any idea what like a decent attendance would be? I mean, I've been to weddings where there's like 300 people there, and it's like, what are we doing here? And then I've been to ones like mine where there's 10. So, what's a good number?
I think it's very personal to the couple and how many you want there, how intimate you want it to be. We were on the other end. We were the 300. And it was so funny as you were talking, Casey. That's how it was for us. Like the weekend before, the weather was great. The weekend after, but thankfully it didn't rain. But ours was a literal inferno. We had an outdoor reception at Conner Prairie, and it was 92 degrees, I believe. So we all melted. So I related to your story.
Yeah, we got married at St. Pius Catholic Church, but I'm betting there's one thing that we had to do that you did not have to do. And that was schedule your wedding around Notre Dame football.
Oh, yeah!
Because we had a lot of out-of-town guests, and all the hotels were booked, so we had to make sure it was an off week. And the same thing with our honeymoon, by the way. We had to wait till the season was over.
Susan Beckwith, tell us about your fabulous social media network, your website, Belle of the Midwest.
Yes. Okay, check out my blog today. I have a new blog post up all on salon etiquette. I also share a few of my favorite products, to give you that big pageant hair. But no, I hope you'll check it out. There's lots of different topics that we cover, anything from more wedding etiquette to teaching manners to your children. If you don't already, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram and share with your friends.
You're the best. Belle of the Midwest, BELLE of the Midwest.com. Also find it on Facebook, Belle of the Midwest. Susan Beckwith, thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. And that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you for listening. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back here on Monday. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Crime and violence in Indy, chaos at our border. 1,000 miles apart, but the cause is the same. Soft on-crime policies pushed by the far left. I'm Jefferson Shreve. I took them on because I couldn't accept it. Now the fight is bleeding into our suburbs and up from our southern border. We need conservative leaders who keep their word. For law, order, and a secure border, I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Indiana businessman Jefferson Shreve.
Let's talk about the mess we're in today. The left's pushing their agenda. Our culture's under attack from the far left. And don't even get me started on the border. I took on the left and their lawlessness in Indianapolis, and now it's bleeding into our suburbs and rising from our southern border. It's time to fix the problem in Congress. For law, order, and a secure border, I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Shreve for Congress.
Cancer's worst gets our best. Franciscan Health is a national leader in treating colorectal cancer, achieving the highest standards in cancer care, with accredited programs, board-certified oncologists, and fellowship-trained colorectal surgeons. Franciscan Health is focused on your future, offering the most advanced treatments and latest clinical trials that are no match for colorectal cancer. Meet colorectal cancer's toughest opponent at franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care. That's franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended silver unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah!
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Online only. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the silver unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Go where the pros go. Drexel Interiors for Timberlake kitchen and bath cabinets. Visit Drexel's new design center on 146th Street at River Road or on North Shadeland. DrexelIN.com.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to